We're live.
Yes, yes. I can't hear myself. Nurse, I got it.
I hear you.
Welcome in. Holy crap. There are 23 people waiting.
Jordan.
What happened?
Just, people are excited. They get fired up.
So did you tweet something out like earlier?
I tweeted out the link to the stream, and the stream's been up for just in waiting in the wings for a couple minutes.
That means I've got a job to do here.
There's a cute boy that's not being tweeted out.
That's exactly right. For those of you watching on YouTube, number one, they want me to put on my readers.
That got the people going.
Did it really?
I think it did.
I got to tell you, I busted them out. Hold on, I'm searching for cute boys to retweet on Twitter. Mm-hmm. My Gift Depot account. Mm-hmm. Chairman Kurt just sent us something. What's he got?
I believe those are the quarters.
Yeah. Those are sharp, Chairman Kurt.
Ooh, yeah.
I actually like the red.
Really? I like that kind of darkish gray.
I enjoy them all, but you wouldn't think red. The fuck was I just saying? This is going to be problematic because I'm going to be all over the map.
The readers.
Oh, the readers. Thank you.
You bet.
So I kind of came out of the closet on Friday night.
Okay. There's a moment right there.
There's a moment. So we go to dinner with a bunch of friends, like 15 people, 16 people on Friday night. I think I told you where I went. I think I said it on TMA yesterday. See how well you were paying attention. What restaurant did I dine at this price?
Annie Gunn's.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Have you ever been?
Have I ever been? I don't believe I have. It is.
I mean, I knew it was good because we'll hit that smokehouse market.
Right.
And that's where I'll get burgers from that I barbecue.
I've gotten food.
Indirect, by the way.
Yeah.
Tim Sr. with that tip. Martin Kilcoyne's Jimmy Stewart impression of my father. But, God, it's good.
Is it?
It is. It really is. Can't tell if these two guys are about to make out, and I try to keep that away from the retweet. Especially. There it is. I got my guy. All right, it's going out on the Twitter tweets for those of you who still follow me, even though I'm a Gift Depot.
Right.
It's headed out.
It's like a sassy, cute boy with one earring. Is that the gay ear? I'm not positive.
I think that's offensive, but it does remind me of Hank Kingsley on Larry Sanders. Now, with that said, I'm just like, I don't know. Here's the thing. This is the magic of, I guess that was the theme of last week's QFTA,
right.
And it's now spreading beyond. I just don't fucking care. And I'm like, the problem is, as this has happened so quickly with reading, is especially if it's not a brightly lit restaurant,
sure.
When the bill comes, I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
And I'll have to lean over to my wife and go, you got to tell me what, I'm making out like a certain few numbers here.
Yeah, there's always that, you always see it in a darkly lit restaurant, the older gentleman with his phone flashlight reading the menu or the bill.
That started about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of time. I don't know what time we were there until like, I don't know, 11, but we got there at 6:30. And I was in a text exchange with a few different people, and, it's two big tables of 15, girls on one side, boys on the other, the way I like it.
Damn right.
And I'm like, I got to respond to these texts. I don't fucking care if it's rude, fine, whatever. And I'm just going to put on the readers, and I'm going to come out.
That was your debut?
I'm going to come. I mean, I guess doing it here was, but amongst like this was my wife's group of friends and the girls, the Naughty Nine.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And then the husbands, boyfriends, whatever it is, all of whom I know, and they're really good guys. And then one of the guys goes, "So the readers, how are they treating you?" Like after a half hour of because I'd pull them on, then because I don't need it. Like if I put them on now, you'd be blurry. But to read like my phone or to read a long article. And then my readers got passed around like a little hua.
Don't you just buy those at like Walgreens?
Yeah, that's what they're like. Where'd you get them? And I go like, it's CVS for $7.
Yeah, they're by the Band-Aids.
And it was like, and one of my wife's friends who had been complaining about her vision, she put them on and it was like Meg Ryan and When Harry Met Sally. She just came right there. She's like, oh my God, these are incredible. I go, $7, CVS, they're the tits.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes. But now, if I had a full head of hair, if I went to St. Louis Hair Restoration, and I got the hair transplants, would the readers be as aesthetically pleasing? Ask yourself. Maybe it's another TMA STL Gallup poll.
That's interesting.
No,
I'll have to ponder that. I think just in general, hair is what we've decided is the more aesthetically pleasing
Wow, that's an attack.
part of the head, and it sucks. Trust me. Hey, listen, I'm staring down the barrel of it, and
You're not, though.
yeah. Well, right now I'm okay, but
Me, Martin, and Doug all are telling you, and we're not bullshitting
I know
you.
you are. I know. But
Like, if you were to, like, I don't know if I would say something if I'm like, oh, Jackson's put on like 20 pounds.
yeah,
You know, because I didn't even think you were overweight when you were 25 pounds heavier.
I hit it
For
well.
real, I didn't.
I hit it well. It was on the face. The hair thing is not as bad now. I can see. I saw my grandpa on my mom's side. Ball's a cue ball. And I feel my uncle's got problems. It's the whole thing. Either way, quick aside about Walgreens, and they're not sponsored.
live read.
No, they're not.
YOLO.
And they actually might not be after this. I just have a question. I don't know if you've been to a Walgreens recently. The floors, every Walgreens I've ever been to, filthy. They're scuffed up like crazy. The
I guess
floors
they won't be a sponsor.
no, the floor. I don't know if anyone in the YouTube chat or anybody listening to this later, why are the floors so dirty at Walgreens? Not CVS.
Jackson's
Walgreens.
holding Walgreens workers again, of course, blue collar, hardworking Americans.
They're scuffed to high hell. It's crazy.
So Jackson is holding Walgreens workers accountable. If you're in the YouTube chat, you can go in there and answer for it. First grocery stores, now Walgreens. That's from Chairman Kurt.
Well, the grocery store thing is that they just got to enforce the rules on the self-checkout. And usually 9 out of 10 times you have no problem with that. It's just on a busy time. People are in there with 40 items. Get the hell out of here.
So you're holding customers accountable and not the hardworking Americans.
If you have a cart, the self-checkout line is not for you. That's for baskets or free hands only.
Alex says the self-checkout, the situation at Walgreens is always a mess.
Self-checkout Walgreens, I don't think I've ever done. They give you they give you a receipt the size of your arm.
Yeah, but they've now given you the option to take it, at least at CVS.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
now that I
huge.
think about it, Walgreens isn't a self-checkout.
That's not. I've never
CVS
had,
is.
Yeah, CVS I've done it.
Interesting.
At. Yeah.
All right, I got a few things here. I have a dossier, and I noticed that Jackson's awful dossier is in the YouTube chat.
Oh, at least
and he's the one who wants me to put my readers on. He's almost finished. I apologize.
What's that
Here,
picture
let me. That's what I wonder. Whenever I see Jackson's awful dossier in the YouTube chat, what is that a picture? Is that like powder from the movie?
It kind of looks like.
I think it is. I think that's why he uses it.
Michelangelo's David. Like it's like just a bald alabaster skin.
Michael Jackson took off his sunglasses for the girls in the balcony. I think that was the '84 Grammys. Maybe.
Who did he take to that one?
Well, he took a young boy by the name of Manuel Lewis, and people were like, "Of course."
Was it a child or a monkey? Because he brought both.
He did both. People were just like, "Of course."
And his best friend was Macaulay Culkin.
I actually do think that this is a good look. Now, I shouldn't say that, but now that I'm looking at it, it's not bad. Maybe I'll keep it. But the problem is that when I look at you, you're blurry.
Yeah.
And then I got to do this like I'm Ben Franklin.
Have you considered?
But I just don't I don't fucking like you do get there.
Right.
Part of it is just age.
Yeah.
You just don't care.
Yeah. Have you considered getting them on a chain, like a librarian?
Like a librarian.
Or they break in the middle so you can set them down? I think that would be cool. Like rip into, like Mosaic and then take your readers off.
Mosaic has where they break?
No, that would be great. Or how about you get the
God.
How about you get the skipper's transitions, the transition lenses, so that you can always wear them. Sunglasses are inside.
Toy Maltese, what a name this is. Toy Maltese Mafia Family says, we are loving that look. A beard would make you look like a Viking. Tucci, Van Pelt, McKernan. I feel like, well, you're really high on Tucci.
Oh, yeah. And so are they. Listen, so is Gen Z.
Like, as far as, like, women are attracted to Stanley Tucci? Yeah. Really? Isn't he, like, 60?
He's made a big move on TikTok.
But he's a married 60-year-old man.
That's the thing, is he doesn't give a fuck, and that's, like, that's the appeal.
Really?
He's just like a guy in his 60s, living in London with his beautiful British wife, cooking pasta on TikTok.
Of course, Jackson likes because she's British. If she were from the South, he would shit on her. Just being honest.
I mean,
let's be honest. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably right.
Yeah.
I was just saying, it was just a nicety. You say a beautiful wife.
Sure, I know. But I mean, if she were from the South, I don't think you would say that.
Yeah. Where's Stanley Tucci from?
I'm going to guess one of the 5 boroughs.
Yeah, I think that's a tight read. Stanley
I'm going to go
Tucci.
Brooklyn.
All right. He is from Peekskill, New York. So upstate.
I believe that's Brooklyn. That's a neighborhood in Brooklyn, just south of Ebbets Field. All right, so I got things, and I keep forgetting to get to things. We get distracted. Jackson's on a tangent against blue-collar workers.
Right.
So that'll be fitting because we'll get to the election. But what did I do here since we got done with TMA? Oh, number one. So I had a meeting with our director of sales, Keith Krause. I'm a Keith Krause Lemming. And Tommy Mattern. I'm a Tommy Mattern Lemming. And so here's the situation. So you'll hear it directly from me, because we were joking about this in our TMA group chat. The trivia night this Friday has been canceled. And here is the reason. Now, there will be TMA conspiracy. I promise you, wherever you read things about us that aren't true, the conspiracy theories will be, see, the show is failing. They had to cancel the trivia night. Now, so you can advance that if you would like. Be my guest. What is our theme?
I don't fucking care.
I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Let me show you how many live reads we did this morning, and I'll ask you which one you think matters more. But you advance whatever conspiracy theory you want. Now, the issue was, and is this. We announced the trivia night, and then you had all of the moves with TMA going to 101, and it was just awkward as fuck.
Yeah.
And so the last thing we're going to be doing is like, hey, we know you hate us, but come out and answer some questions at a grade school gymnasium. And so I was thinking to myself, boy, if I could have this one back, I would have said, hey, you know, that trivia night, probably want to pull the plug on it and never even announce it. Mm-hmm. If this is all going to be happening on whatever it happened, October 28th. Or I guess the announcement was October 25th, I think.
Yeah, first day was 28th.
And Missouri nearly edged out Alabama on October 26th. I think that's
close.
the chronological order there on it. So the first 2 years we did it, I think they sold more than 200 tickets. And the number that we were at, per Jesse Kiowski, is 85 or something like that, I believe. So that means people just didn't book tables. They booked some, but some were, you know, in other words, if tables of 8, you would have 80 or 90. You see what I'm saying? Or I guess that isn't true. Either way, 85 isn't divisible by 8.
No, it is not.
Fuck off.
88 is. 88 is.
It sure is. You better believe it, Jack. And what is it divisible by?
11.
It's good. We're going to take that. Yes. So we're sitting in there, Tommy and Keith and I, and they're like, we should probably cancel it. I go, okay. I said, I agree with you. I said, then it's going to be a whole thing with, see, the show's not working. I told you that it's going to, and then they're like, yeah, we don't really care because we know it is. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess in the whole scheme of things, yeah. What does it matter? Yeah. I'll answer emails if people want to answer emails, and if people want to have their conspiracy theories, then I guess that helps them entertain themselves and pass the day, and that is. So that's the reality. We didn't really promote it that much because it would have been awkward in the first week. Kind of promoted it. Iggy texted us that he wanted to come to the trivia. He was actually trying to work on the trivia event, which would have been great. And he's like, hey, is it going to be awkward? I'm like, fuck no. Nobody has an issue with you. No. And if anything, I said it'll be great that you could get the well-due applause from the audience. But, you know, we just didn't push it. And we just did. And I also, the first 2 years we did it, one was in the summer, which I think is honestly optimal, but at St. Gabriel, they had an issue with the air conditioning, so it was hotter than a fire as hell in there. I think it was like a July or August, and it wasn't good for vacation schedules for people. I still think that's better. And then the second year, last year, I know we did it during college football season. I know Georgia and Ole Miss was playing the night of.
Mizzou
Georgia
beat
the fuck out. Mizzou beat Tennessee, so you were probably on an all-time high because you hate good. Tennessee.
Yeah, and then Bucks approached the stage.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah, that was a reminder.
I was like, Dalen Cardinal pick 6. Just think of that.
Yeah, that'd take you to your happy place. But when we were talking about doing this thing, like back in, I don't even know, February, I was like, hey, Missouri plays South Carolina, and if it's a night game, you don't want to be in a spot where Missouri's sitting there undefeated or one loss, and people are like, I don't want to come to this thing. I want to get my money back, whatever. Right. The SEC didn't announce the time of games, the time frame of games until a couple months later. So we booked it on a Friday. I still don't think Friday was the reason for it not being well purchased. I think it was the transition, you know? Yeah. The Dotem gets sold out like that. Trivia night is kind of why don't we do this? We get Friday night, but I don't know if Friday nights. Let me tell you, this is a good spot where you are a good counter to my life here. With you being, you're in a relationship, but you're not married and don't have children.
Right.
For me, the night at this point in my life I want to go out on is Saturday. Going to Annie Gunn's on Friday last week was like I could fall asleep at 6:30. I'm so fucking tired. Yeah. But, this is my wife and her friends and the guys that I've gotten to know over the years since being with my wife. And so we're just going to do it, and I'm going to have a feast. And God bless. And it'll end up being great. But in a vacuum, you get to a point where Friday night you're just exhausted, assuming that you're, working. And we obviously get up early. So that's a little, not apples to apples for everybody not getting up at 4 or 5. So Saturday's the night you want to go out, but we didn't want to fuck with the college football thing,
right?
Because we knew the Missouri, like if Missouri was playing UMass, I don't think we would have cared, and we'd just go, let's go ahead and do it on Saturday.
Yeah.
But because it was South Carolina, and we're like, this is the date that worked for St. Gabriel. So anyway, that's that. Have at it with the conspiracy series and whatever you want to do. But there's that. Then I had a call right after that with Hubbard Corporate in Minneapolis, and then Tommy Mattern and Riz on season 2 of Stupiracy. And so we've been greenlit for another season, Jackson. But the thing that they really want me, in addition to Stupiracy, do is to do a gambling podcast, which I want to do.
For sure.
And, I'm talking to about the gambling podcast. As part of the gambling podcast, gluten-free perk.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag free perk.
Great call. Free perk. Yeah.
So I get the sense that she's a degen.
She, based on her Twitter, likes to place a wager.
So perk might be on this thing. I know Anthony Stalter really enjoys wagering.
Sure does.
I'd like to have producer Joe's landing strip involved.
Have him mix it up with gluten-free perk. That's must-see TV, baby.
Can we get Iggy back?
Oh, God, that's
Iggy, producer Joe, and gluten-free perk.
I just like to see Stelter's face on day one when Joe and Iggy are just spewing at each other. Oh my God,
Stalter and perk would be like, what the
fuck is going on here? And it'd be great.
So that's what I had, and then I feel like I had another thing. Can you? Oh, there's producer Joe. He said you can just ask. He's watching the show.
Hi, Joe.
What's up, Rat Prod Joe?
Hi, Joe.
Are you in? Can we have him call in? Can we have him call in? What's the number? I forgot the number in here.
Boy, 636-904
TMA?
4862.
Because it's a different number than the...
Yes, 636. It's crazy. I still remember. 636-900.
Now we're going to have all these...
862. Well,
fuck boys in the... we know Joe's got a 770 area code.
Yeah.
Call in, producer Joe. Let's book this thing.
Yeah. And just talk it over a little.
Now I'm thinking... I'm confident Tommy's not watching this. But I would gather Tommy wants people from inside the building because then it's not like additional comp.
Sure.
And I understand that. I don't know if Joe even gives a shit, though. I think Joe would just do it. Yeah. But I want to do, I liked doing Pick 6. The issue was, getting everybody together on the schedule.
Yeah, timing was tough.
MD 2020 is there. Bald head out and glasses. Meow. That's from Erin and St. Chuck, and she has nipple rings. And to me, that is validation, and it's all the validation I need.
That is vindicating. That's the only vindication.
Let me ask you this, Erin and St. Chuck, and I want you to be honest with me. You know I don't have feelings. I'm a sociopath. Are you pro-beard or anti-beard? Because a lot of the guys that I do sleep with seem like they really like the beard, but my wife hated the beard.
Yeah, and unfortunately...
And it was when we were in the Bahamas for 40th birthday this year. I'm like, I didn't realize you hated it as much as you hate it. And she goes, well, you like it, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. I said, well, if you cut your hair into a bob, I guarantee I'd say something about that. So if you don't like the fucking beard, you're the one who has to deal with it. So, So then I just went upstairs and I just shaved it off real quick. And you were visually appalled.
It's just that I think if you can grow a beard, you should.
She's pro-beard. God, I might have to have a conversation with my wife, Erin and St. Chuck, who has nipple rings, and you don't. Who wants me to have the beard?
Can we compromise on a mustache?
I feel like guys with mustaches tend to... You know what I'm saying. Everybody does. Everybody knows exactly what I'm saying. And again, we don't kink shame. All right, Joe just texted me. Not calling in right now. Maybe at 2 if you're still doing this thing.
Nice. All right. He seems locked in.
All right, producer Joe, they just asked, would you do it? Would you do it? You're probably going to have to come into the Hubbard studio. I don't think they do this on Zoom. We'd be on a set.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't care. Maybe we could just do it on Zoom. I'm trying to think, Hubbard podcasts, do they do anything on Zoom?
Not that I can think of.
Need to do TMA on Zoom so I can move my ass to Jupiter.
We did that for a little, and then we had a leaf blower situation.
It's true. Was that when I was in? Was that when we were KFNS?
Well, the leaf blower.
It was KFNS. We had the guys drive up like they were ready to whack me when we were.
They had the lawn guys who just clearly didn't care that you were so clearly doing some sort of broadcasting.
Yeah, obviously not live streaming.
No, they didn't give a shit.
Aaron in St. Chuck says no stash. Ew. So
Really?
she's pro beard, likes the glasses, like the shaved head. Maybe I bring it back.
Yeah,
The only person who really doesn't like it is my wife.
She's unfortunately the only vote that really matters.
I know. But then here's what I'm thinking. She's so worried about all the women and guys who would want me that this is a move where she's making me less attractive to keep me. Because the relationship aesthetics are so fucking lopsided.
It's like leaking a story about the draft potential guy.
It's like Joe's like, I'm negotiating with his agent. He just said, there is interest. Yes. All right. Settle down. There is interest. Yes. I mean, Joe, Iggy, Perk, Stalter, Gambling Pod.
Pod Gold.
Let's go get them.
Pod Gold, baby. It's Pod Gold.
God. I like that.
Yeah. Football season, I would assume.
Yeah, they're talking about doing. Riz was in there because one of the guys which is great. Hubbard hired I don't know what the right term would be, but his background's in podcast. When I launched my podcast, actually, he was the one who helped guide me. Yes, and now Hubbard hired him.
Nice.
And he's in Minneapolis. I think he might be in Chicago, but he works out of the corporate office in Minneapolis. And Riz is like, and Riz wouldn't be involved in it, but he's like, oh, you'd want to make the picks on Thursday. And then, review the picks on Monday, so 2 a week.
2 pods.
Now, what we experience with Pick 6 is injuries and weather are so important. When, if I'm really betting a game, that's the stuff that but I love the live bet. And if we had a Twitter feed, I can be tweeting that shit out.
Yeah, but all those, any gambling show still does it on Thursdays or Fridays.
You just got to do it.
It's the unfortunate, because to get people, especially for college football, people being on Saturday morning, that's the worst time.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Eric Bishop says, did Joe block me? I don't see him. No, Joe is texting my phone, for the record. All right, let's see what we got here. I'm so happy, like Brian Henshin, I'm so happy that the free perk movement has some real momentum. Bring back Prod Joe, too. He's my favorite. There's the cast. I know Iggy would do it.
Oh, for sure.
Iggy, Prod Joe, Stalter, who loves to wager, Perk, and myself.
Yeah, that's a
I'm kind of fired up about this program.
That's a fun little crew.
Yeah, Tommy's been talking to me about doing a gambling podcast for a while. And I'm high on Perk. But I don't think Perk is in a position. Well, I mean, no, Hubbard's not, but in a position to do 5 days a week.
Yeah, but this could be a perfect little app.
This is and this is her thing too.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go. All right, what do I got going on here? Oh, so I got a bunch of emails, and I will read a sampling. I was actually going to email. I don't think Dogtown Ty would mind me saying this because he's a two-time defending J. Randolph Jr. Fan Page Club champion. He emailed, and I know him. So when I know somebody, and I hope I'm going to communicate this properly, but when I know somebody, and then they come with an email that's kind of like what I would read on a social media platform, that throws me off, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
And so I'm like, hey, Dogtown Ty. I mean, it's not like I know him well, but I feel like I've played golf with him once or twice.
He came out with his Flying Sibian.
Flying Sibian, yeah. And I know he's like a normal guy. I think he has a wife or girlfriend. This isn't this isn't a situation, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, man, why don't we get on the phone? I'm willing to get on the phone with anybody if I know that this isn't like somebody who's, jerking off furiously to me. And he goes, no, don't need to worry about getting on a call. He goes, I'll listen. He goes, I probably jumped the gun a little bit. And so we were literally sitting down to do QFTA. And I was in these meetings and on these calls, and I opened up my email, and Dogtown Ty sent an email today at 11:27. And it said, Tim, I just listened to the State of the Show, which was last week's podcast QFTA titled TMA State of the Union.
Yes.
Which I think was a good choice by you. So that way, if anybody had questions, you could always say, hey, go back to the TMA State of the Union. It's all addressed.
Point of reference, yeah.
It was exactly what I was looking for when I originally emailed you. It answered all the questions I had. I understand why you chose not to address it the Friday of the last show over that weekend. glad they are looking at the breaks to help the conversation flow. That's from Dogtown Ties. So there you go. So that's great to hear. So if you didn't listen to last week's Sode, I would recommend it. Now, I have to be honest with you. I got done with that thing, or I was midway through it, and I guess it went 2 hours on the nose. And I'm like, fuck, I might have said too much, but whatever. If it's the truth, then so be it. I'll just have to deal with that from, you know, my bosses, and that's what I'll have to deal with, and that's on me. It's not on you. That's on me. And I'll have to deal with it. And then Juan from PP Corp, who actually works in PR, posted right toward the end of it something along the lines of, this is a masterclass in public relations. And coming from him, because I know what his background is and his father's background, I'm like, well, that means something. From him, and I texted him, I said, thank you for saying that. I said, were you like being facetious? Because I didn't know, because all I was doing was just, here's the story, ask me questions, I want to be transparent. And he goes, well, that's what it is. That's a good thing.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, cool. And then, kind of to my surprise, honestly, the emails I received in response to that QFTA were overwhelmingly positive. So that was wonderful. And, you know, and a few people said, I know you said on the podcast that you don't give a fuck, so I feel bad even emailing it. Let me make this clear. So I need to, if I didn't make this clear on last week's Sode, I want to make this is very important. And then that's on me if I did not. I don't even know if I want to say I don't care about social media. I view social media as a poisonous echo chamber more often than not, but that doesn't mean that it always is. And so there's that. So I don't sit there and I don't even train myself. I don't value it, not because I think we're better than the people. I just know the people don't have the information that we have. And so therefore to judge that which we know with the opinions of those who don't, through no fault of their own, by the way, would be a real strange way to analyze things. The reality, I'll tell you what, the number is revenue, and I would imagine that's the case for any business. So that's where I'm coming from with that. But if someone emails me or even DMs me, I just prefer email because I don't know how often I'm really looking at social media, and therefore I might miss it. But if they email me and they're asking questions or even criticisms, fine, it's part of the deal. That's what the money's for. You're going to get a response from me, for real, 100%. And maybe we'll even get on the phone if that's what you want, for real, because I want to be able to answer all questions. You know, if I'm a TMA listener and I have been reading with nobody from TMA pushing back against the belief that the show is going to become like all of the other 101 shows, and again, I'm not there to present the truth, then in that void of information becomes false narratives. Right. So nobody did anything wrong. And again, if you're in our position, you want people to care. You want people to care, both good and bad. I believe Bob Stoops said it when he was talking about Eli Drinkwitz. As Toby Keith said, the haters make you money as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm paraphrasing what Bob Stoops said when he was asked about Eli Drinkwitz, something along those lines. So that was the choice was either engage or don't, but if you don't engage, you know what's going to happen. And it happened exactly as we thought. But again, it's kind of like we have a choice. Engage or don't engage. I was planning to engage. Now with everything having played out, I'm very glad that I didn't. I was kind of advised not to. Wasn't told don't, but I was, hey, I think you probably don't want to do this. And then also similar to our decision, it was not stay on HD2 or go to 101. It was, hey, we want you on 101. This show needs to be on a bigger platform. So that's what we want you to do. And if you really wanted to, maybe we could extend HD2 for another few months. But eventually the show has to be on 101. It's just the way that it is. Or, as me, you, and Doug met and discussed, we could take everything in-house. That was the choice. That is a binary choice. I personally, I don't know about you or Doug, I personally didn't have any interest in looking at any other stations. And that's not to say that I don't like other stations so much as if I'm going to be at a station and it's going to be a corporate operation, I'm going to be working with John Kioski, Tommy Madden, and Keith Krause, and the 100 people who are in this building who we truly do like and respect.
Yep.
So if that's the case, and we're getting the opportunity to do Mornings on 101, why would we go anywhere else if that's the route we're going to go? So you said that you think that just establishing that point in last week's podcast carried a lot of weight because people were under the impression that we could have stayed on HD2.
Right.
And so just establishing that point was big for the audience, which is something that is interesting to me because I didn't even think through that. I was just telling the story of what happened with as much detail as I could.
I think it's the headline in a way. I think that's one of the bigger things out of the podcast.
That it was either 101 or take it in-house?
Yeah, I think that answered a lot of people's questions, and I think that to me was like the biggest thing that answered what the people were wondering about. I don't necessarily know exactly what the people were wondering about, but I think that would cover a lot of bases.
Got it. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's a you don't know because if you don't read it, you don't know what people are saying. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I would rather not read it than. If I could, so when I'm emailing with people, they don't conduct themselves like they do on social media. Or the people that are emailing me are actually people who I think are probably in the lurker family more so than posting. And so we can have a one-on-one exchange. And so they can tell me this sucks and this sucks and this sucks. It's like, okay, totally understand. Just so you know, here is this and here is that. And I guess when I talked about the breaks, that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. The breaks and all of the hockey interviews. Those have been the two things that I have heard the most about in emails. And so specific on the breaks, because I think I can give more specific information on that. I believe, let me look at the date. I think the 25th is when the show, to be exact, is going to, 25th is going to go down to 3 breaks. And I think the reason for that, this is getting into the weeds, but just for the purpose of, hey, here's the deal. Do you know why it's going to be the 25th? Let's see if you know. Ladies and gentlemen, Jackson Burkett being asked a question about the broadcast industry. This is Jackson Burkett, Ladue, class of 2016.
Oh, boy. Why would it be November 25th?
Why would it be November 25th? I got to put you on the clock. I'd love to sit here and let you do this for a half hour. But
I know Thanksgiving's late this year. I don't know.
I think it has something to do with turkey.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's because of the giblets.
Oh, wow.
Giblet gravy.
There's something called the broadcast calendar, which I honestly didn't know a thing about until we came over here.
Is that like the Hebrew calendar where it's lunar?
I don't believe it has anything to do with any faith.
Okay.
So broadcast calendars sometimes start so the December broadcast calendar starts on November 25th.
Okay.
And so they'll close out the November broadcast calendar on November 22nd.
I guess that makes sense because people aren't doing a lot of shows on Thanksgiving and the day after.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with that.
Right.
It's like sometimes the month will end on the 31st, and I think Halloween was on a Thursday this year.
Yeah.
So my guess is the broadcast calendar for November began on whatever that Monday was, 28th, I guess.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there's just little fun facts for no one. That's why we started on the 28th. There's another little fun fact.
Broadcast
for no one.
calendar. I didn't know it existed.
Broadcast calendar. And then I'm sitting with John Kioski, Hubbard St. Louis president, and I don't know. I don't know if this does me any good to say, but they're very excited about the first couple weeks of the show, both from a programming and revenue thing, which I guess when it's all said and done, it's all that matters. But we want to allow you guys to have more opportunity. We might even go down to 2 breaks starting in 2025. So that has been something of a great deal of concern for listeners, and it for real. I don't think Doug's concerned about anything. So I don't know if I would call it a concern for Doug, but Martin will sit there and log the commercials because he cares so much. And I care for sure, and I think you care. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're here to speak your own mind. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But I think we all know, if you've done the show, that the show is better when we can flow more.
100%.
So anyway, if you're a TMA listener, I think as a 101 listener, if you're not familiar with the show, you'd be like, okay, these guys I get what they're doing. I think the best moment of the show, probably to date, was the Bill DeWitt interview, and we just went 25 minutes with it. So it's not like somebody's sitting there screaming at us.
No.
The main thing is I got to do the 4 breaks per hour because that's the way that the clock is built. So, if you'd like me to be insubordinate, just go, fuck it, I'm not doing the breaks. We're just going to go. That's fine. I probably won't be employed.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
So that's the situation with the clock. And I think you will notice a substantial change once that is put into place on November 25th. Any questions people may have? I try to build up some time to skip the hockey talk. Would rather listen live, but I get why it's needed. So on that is an arrangement that the Blues have with the station on the interviews. So and it's currently every day at 8:15. Brad asked that question or made the observation in there. Let's see. And now we get it. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I mean, that's why I put myself here on the YouTube chat and prefer to do it on the YouTube chat. 54 people in here, so any questions you may have or criticism, it's fine. I know some of you got your YouTube burner, so you can come and get me, and it's fine. It's, Jackson, that's what the money's for. Will the 3 breaks be longer to compensate for the 4th? I don't know the answer to that. The thing that I've noticed, because I got used to breaks being 6 minutes or so, is Iggy would say when he would go out to smoke a dart, 6 minutes, Jackie.
Yep.
The breaks sometimes are 90 seconds.
Yeah. Yep.
But that is because we're doing live reads, as I would imagine those of you who listen to TMA have observed, in content.
Yeah.
And that is because we have been doing that for a number of years, and that's what our advertisers have gotten their return on, and so that's what they wanted, and that's what they're getting. So therefore, that live read that would normally be in a commercial break, stop set, radio jargon, is outside of it, and then therefore the break is like we have 90-second breaks sometimes.
Right, so a 2.5 minute break
becomes a 90-second break because the 60 seconds of the live read was already done in the content.
Yep.
So
anyway, it's a little different.
I just think, you never know what's going to happen. I'm obviously pretty confident in what's going to happen, but either way, I think listen. Let me put it this way. I'm going to look right in the camera with these baby blues that are covered up by readers. 101 has been on the air since 2009. 15 years of 4 commercial breaks per hour. TMA was on 101 for 3 hours, and the person in charge of programming came in and said, we got to change the clock. Yeah. That's all. You can email McKernan at InsideSTL.com. Questions, comments, criticism. And I enjoy it. We have wonderful exchanges. And you're never, I enjoy that. But as far as like going on the TMA fan page or the TMA Reddit or I don't know what the other haunts might be.
Yeah, probably just a lot of group chats.
Yeah, like group text. Yeah, I don't see the upside. But I'll answer 100 emails and happily do so and enjoy doing so, actually, in a one-on-one setting. But where you got people just like doing the little thing where they're going to,
try to dunk.
Yeah, have their big, moment.
Yeah, they're trying to body bag. They're trying to leap. They're trying to get their elbow in the rim.
It's not something that I'm really interested in this point in my life to engage in. Good faith. Give me good faith. Because, it's not like all the emails are positive.
When did Vince Carter put his elbow in the rim? What dunk contest year was that? Late 90s, I have to think. Vince Carter, elbow in rim. That was the 2000 dunk contest.
Oh, and then that's the...
That's when he went.
It's over.
It's over. He put his arm in the rim.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Now, this is kind of... As you get to the... Tony Soprano looking out on peyote moment, you go, well, then if you don't really give a fuck, well, then maybe you go, okay, all right, you're going to have your it's good, you got me, like, and it'll be big for you. But then I was like, okay, fine. But then, because by not participating at all, am I throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
But we do it here. We talk about it like right here on podcasts where you can pontificate.
I get it, but I'm just talking about I've been in social media retirement.
Yeah, but with Twitter, you were that long before.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I feel like it was when Spieth went in the water on 12 is when I'm like, okay.
That's when you decide to shut it down.
For real. Because I think like on 11, I'm just like, God, there's no way this guy can lose. Yeah. And then I'm just like, you totally fucking jinxed him nice. You still think there's no way he can lose now? And I'm like, well, Willett's got the green jacket on, so I think it's over as they review, VAR. Because I'm just like, yeah, why do I even, like, what does it matter? Like, again, if part of my contract was, hey, you need to tweet, 1,000 times a year, I go, okay, well, fuck, I guess I got to figure out if I want to do this or not.
Right.
I don't get anything for it.
Yeah.
And all it is a headache, so then why do you? But then at the same time, if you don't care, like I remember, this isn't my guy, I know he's your guy, Clay Travis. And he was on this, what's that?
Big week. Big week for CT.
He was on this podcast. I mean, I think my second interview, I think it was Gary Pinkel was the first interview. It was Clay Travis second.
But he was doing, like, SEC football.
Yeah, but he had already begun the process.
The process.
And the interview was certainly not about, what do you think about Missouri this year? Who do you like in the SEC? We didn't talk about any of that. It was about the process. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely about the process. And I was told I only had, this was in studio too at KFNS in Kirkwood. And I'm like, because he had something, this wasn't like, hey, his PR guy's here and saying you only have a half hour. But I knew he had to get back to a hotel and get cleaned up for an event. And so I think the questions that I was asking about the process really resonated with him. Mm-hmm. And later that night, we were at the same place, and he goes, that was a hell of an interview. You really asked some tough questions. And I'm going, oh, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. But I think the questions kind of making observations, and by the process, I mean just like saying stuff to, grifting. Mm-hmm. That he appreciated somebody directly asking, And so I bring up Clay Travis and the podcast at that point, because that was kind of what the style of the podcast was at that time. And when we were talking over the process, he goes, if I opened up my phone right now, I would have 1,000 people tweeting at me angrily. And he goes, and I just laugh and laugh and laugh when I see it. And I'm like, it's interesting. And I was like, and I believed him too. I believed that part. And I was like, that's interesting. I was like, I don't think I tweeted much. I think I would tweet like highlights of the show. I think that's what I would do, and then clips of this podcast when I would have guests on. But I wonder if I would do that now if I don't really give a shit, than like a guy with burners. Because like as Doug says about it, he's like, well, I think about the people who would do that, and I'm like, I kind of feel badly for them. that's
good way of looking at it.
I mean, but that's what he says. I mean, you know Doug well enough to know that is. Yeah, you probably have heard him say it.
Tracks.
Right. That you like it doesn't hurt. You're just like, God, it probably hasn't gone well. Right. And now you're in this spot where you've taken the time to create a burner account to like tweet at people who it has gone well for.
Yeah,
but it's like I don't even really I don't want to engage in that stuff. Right.
Yeah, I think that's.
So I don't know. I don't know.
You can go back and forth on it all day, but if it makes you it's just sometimes being on Twitter, I'm like, boy, am I not happy looking at all this stuff. Like it would just be.
Well, I'm not talking about Twitter. I'm talking about social media in general.
Sure.
Twitter, I feel like is it's in the already sell mode.
Right, but even what are you gonna do? Like the Bill Simmons walk and talk? It's just like. Oh,
is that what Bill Simmons does? He does the walk and talk.
He'll do a walk and talk.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not sure. But what I'm saying is, Clay, who by no means is somebody that I go, that's my guy. Mm-hmm. But I did believe him in 2017 when we were sitting across from each other. And I absolutely believe Doug, too, that they really don't give a fuck. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm at that place now. So if you don't give a fuck, then who cares if, it just becomes you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's different when you're it can ruin your weekend, Mm-hmm. So, you deleted Reddit off of your phone. Mm-hmm. I totally understand.
For sure.
I don't really, like I've said, I'll go on there and answer. I mean, I know, but it probably wouldn't be answering questions. It'd just be like text. But I don't. It's not like I'm like, hold on a second.
No, I don't.
You know what I mean?
Right. But then it's like the way I look at it sometimes is like, if you can't win, don't play. And that's a certain no-win situation. So
you're talking about social media?
Certainly Reddit specifically, but in some cases social media, yeah. Like if you can't.
Well, we're not. My core issue with it is as Doug oftentimes says, they know who we are, we don't know who they are, which in the anonymity is what breeds all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But still, what I get back to is you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So as opposed to engaging with the majority of the people who are operating in good faith, but because of a handful of people who are, dealing with some stuff, you then you go dark. And I get it if at your point you're younger, or not to say that age is what makes you numb to it, but it affects you more. And I don't think it's an age thing by any means. I think I don't know what causes it. That it's like, okay, yeah, that's just part of the deal, and who cares and whatever. So if you don't care, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I can communicate with people who are operating, which I love to do via email.
Yeah, and in that sense, I could see the upside to it, to communicate with people who actually do want to have good faith. And if you don't care about the burners or the bullshit, then it really wouldn't affect you. Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know.
You can go back and
You're
forth
clearly advising against it. You're clearly advising against it.
Yeah, it's social media, man. I've been thinking about doing this uniform series where I just start reviewing uniforms on a night-to-night basis, and then it's just like, yeah, boy, I don't know.
I can already give you my immediate. I probably would be entertained by it. I legitimately. I'm not just saying that to humor you. I'd legitimately be entertained by it, but I can just picture the Hill Jacks.
Yeah, I know. But makes me want to do it even more. But I got to tell you,
then that adds to the entertainment. So I got Jackson talking uniforms, and then I got Hill Jacks.
Yeah.
And that's like, and then again, because you are much more closer to, as we call it, Doug Von Nirvana at 26 than I was. I mean, in a major way.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested.
Well, what spurred it was those fucking Ravens uniforms, whatever it was. Thursday.
Yeah, the Thursday night.
I was like, I was like, I need to go. I need to have an emergency. What the fuck?
You were that upset about the Ravens uniform?
What the hell was that?
There was a name for him. I heard Scott Van Pelt.
What was the hell of that helmet and the logo? It needs serious. I was like, the Ravens have great uniforms. What the fuck are they? And then the Texans on Monday or Sunday, whatever it was, with
all red.
Oh, it was so bad. Ugh.
That's the reason they lost the game.
It might have been. They probably didn't know who. They couldn't see whose numbers was who. Al Michaels sure couldn't. So I'm thinking that remember that it was Mike Tirico, not Al Michaels. Sorry, Mike Tirico. But maybe I'll launch this uniform. It wouldn't be me going live, talking into the phone. I don't think that would go well. But it would just be quick.
So Bill Simmons every night walks and talks?
No, not every day, just randomly.
No.
He really loves doing sports media. I think he has a for real big time passion for it. So
sports media or
just talking
talking sports.
Just anytime.
Okay, I thought you were giving takes on Tom Brady's performance.
No, but I've read some of his page two stuff, the amount of detail and effort he would go into on some of those columns was crazy.
So there are things with sports that I feel that way about.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are things that I don't. And I think that with regard to TMA, kind of another couple things that I've gotten emails on, TMA's secret ingredient, outside of kind of the chemistry and everybody having a similar personality, no matter what iteration of the show, has been, we're not going to force talking sports if there isn't sports to talk about. And I would hold up, what the fuck's the date today? November 12th. November 12th, TMA on 101 is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
But on Friday, now Doug wasn't there, you were there, Martin and I were there, there was a bunch of shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Cardinals television deal, big story because that impacts the on-the-field business, whether I think people at this point now know it. You had Missouri getting ready to play Oklahoma, the weekend of college football, Cairo with another late giveaway that played a role in a Blues defeat when they should have picked up at least 1 point. The Mike Martz sound, I don't know if that ever gained traction or not, and maybe we just played it, nobody else paid attention to it, and I was like, yeah, this fucking team was moving, and their scumbags don't care, I don't know. But we had all kinds of things. Plus, we had Bill DeWitt on, maybe that was the day before.
We had Thursday with DeWitt.
But...
Ooh, no, I'm sorry, Friday.
but that's that. I want to do that kind of show. Now, if one is of the opinion that sounds like TMA today, or TMA when we're doing that kind of conversation, that sounds like all of the other 101 shows in 101's history, I'm going to vocally disagree with that, because I know it's not true, and I think it's just being said to like, oh, you guys said you'd never do this, and now you're doing it. And I keep going back to, they are changing to bring us in. We are not changing to sit at the table. I don't care. If they would have said, hey, here is the deal, for less money, honestly, as crazy as it might sound, here is the deal. You get to sit in your closet and do HD2 for this number of years, I would have happily taken it. I wasn't like, God, I got to get on 101. It'll validate. I couldn't fucking care less. And I would imagine people know that. But 101's like, we got to change. We got to get away from like hardcore sports. So that's what it's about. Now, I know you know that, and you're nodding, and I'm preaching to the choir, but for the purpose of those listening to that. So that's kind of become a thing. But Jackson and I have been doing this for the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And the show that we were doing on there was different than the other shows on 101. And then it took, Now, I didn't do it, and I'm going to do something different, so I'll get my chance on 101. I did the show on 101 because I was hoping to get the Plowhawk and the Cat over here, honestly, because I knew I was going to make the lion's share of my income from TMA. But I'm like, I'll be a good teammate. They want me to do a show on 101. I'll do it. And it'd be tough to continue to like say, hey, you need to add 2 more guys to the roster when I say I'm not going to do a show, Balloon Party, on 101. So I'll do it. And then I made the proposal to have it for 6 months, and then we'll circle back. And then Tommy asked me for a year. And so I had 2 separate contracts with it. But then I always say it's a credit to Jackson, and I mean it, because you came up with the questions on the shit that you knew would get my mind going. And then Balloon Party took off. Mm-hmm. So that is how this all came to be. But they didn't go, this is how you do a show on this station, WNBC. Right. It wasn't any of that. It's just like, you do your thing, and then a couple months in there on, you're pretty good when you're doing this. But we're talking about the shit that I'm interested in. We're not going, okay, we're on the blues station, so let's break down blues games for 4 hours or for an hour. That's not what we do. It's not what we did do. That's not what the plan is to do. So I want to make sure that I tend to that. The key has been, we talk sports when there's sports to talk about, and if there isn't, we don't force it. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. That's what they want, and that's what I want. And I know when Martin, I can speak to Martin here on this one, when Martin got in the mix for this, he goes, I don't know if I really want to talk sports. And I go, well, I got good news for you. That's not what they want. It doesn't mean that they want us to be slapping and tickling for all 4 hours, but doing what we've done, in the sense of, if there's sports, we're going to talk about it. So I think there's a little bit of revisionist history as to actually what TMA was. Oh, you're pointing at me now. You're pointing at me forcefully.
I think people, that's what they pretend like all we did was grab each other's asses.
What did I tell you, which I didn't say on the podcast last week? I don't think I did. And I said to you, the show that the people have been bitching about for the last few months will now be turned into the glory days of TMA.
Yeah, you're right.
And why do I say that? Because I've lived through cycle after cycle after cycle. If that comes off as condescending, it's not intended to. It comes from experience. I've been in this spot, so I've seen it. And I also understand it. I, as a Stern listener, long for the days of Artie Lang, but I just don't listen to it anymore. I don't go on Stern Reddit or something. I don't know where people go and complain about it. It's just, okay, that's, and also people change.
Yeah.
If I were sitting here at 48 years old as a married father, talking about being at the titty bar until 5 a.m., I think people would go, okay, what the fuck's going on with this guy?
Yeah.
But in 2002 and 2003 and 2004 and 2005 and 2006, I was in my 20s, and that's what I was doing, So people change. I would imagine we're all going to be in agreement, and I don't say this from but God, I really wasn't listening now, a particularly large fan of that guy that I would occasionally hear pop up in old audio archives in 2006. I don't know what the fuck was going on there. So I want to make sure that I present present that point as well.
Yeah, when we, like, back here or times previous, when there was serious sports to talk, like really meaty topics in terms of sports, that's what we did. I remember, like, strapping a effing satellite onto the phones at KFNS to get Daniel Wallach from Siberia on to talk about the Rams lawsuit. Like, we did a lot. We had a lot of guests and did a lot of discussion about serious, mustardy kind of
mustardy. I've never heard that
very
adjective.
acidic. I think that's what McConaughey says in Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, really? I like that.
That's what
I'm going to have to incorporate that into my lexicon.
You got to keep the rhythm below the
and
belt.
we will talk jerking off momentarily.
Yeah, I like how he said his name's Mark Hanna in that movie. He says you got to keep the rhythm below the belt. I really like that.
I like that a lot. Dan Ulrich, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Is it Ulrich or Ulrich? I think it is Ulrich. I feel like I've known some Ulrichs. Says, spot fucking on, Tim. It amazes me the amount of pushback the show has received. And that's the thing. I don't know that it has. You know? I mean, we get the stuff in the text inbox, but it's obviously, I say obviously. I guess I shouldn't say it's obvious because it's obvious to us because we're in there. But it's also, I also knew this was going to happen as well. It's declined like if there's a graph like this. Furthermore, we've won over some of the 101 people quicker than we won them over on Balloon Party. And I don't know what that's about, but my theory is because they kind of know me a little bit from Balloon Party in little bits. And that, when we do talk sports, it isn't like, fart noise drops or something like that, right. I think the stereotype or the TMA, those are the guys that always have porn stars in studios or whatever the bullshit thing is about me or the show. So I think they're hip to that. Mm-hmm. I think some of the interviews, probably DeWitt, probably Josh Schertz. I guess Robert Thomas has shown some personality with us. I don't know. We were on at the same time. Kachuk. Yeah, and they could tell the guys pop on the show and, they're obviously familiar with us, which I guess is some credibility. We're certainly not doing it that way. And then with regard to the TMA listeners, a number of people have also emailed, number one, after last week's podcast, but then also after listening to it and going, okay, the first week I was like, oh my God, my TMA is gone, and now I can tell you guys are getting into your... I mean, me and Martin hadn't worked together since 2006. Yeah. Doug never worked with him. Martin never worked with you. He didn't know who Chairman Kurt was.
Yeah.
So you got that dynamic going.
For sure.
I knew, another thing that I knew was going to happen is Martin, whereas TMA, when it was me, you, Iggy, and Doug, I was clearly like the one who was going to direct the discussion. And I knew, because I knew Martin's personality is bigger, I guess, if that's the right term. I don't know what the right term would be. That he would play a role actively in guiding the show as well. But I'm like, okay, is it going to be good for the show? Yeah, it's going to be good for the show. My ideal world, and it still is, and it's not like, oh, I got to say this. My ideal world was you on the board, me, Doug, and Martin on the dais, and Iggy in the sniper seat where Chairman Kurt is, and Chairman Kurt's still involved in the show, but like in a studio like he had been on TMA. That is my ideal, it's still my ideal world. Because with Martin's roasting and Iggy's randomness, I mean, Martin lights us all up, but with Iggy, holy shit, it's gold. I'm like, there's the winner for as long as Doug and Iggy want to do it, and whenever the time comes that they don't want to do it, then you kind of have the next iteration of TMA. So you've expanded the life of TMA, you've put it in front of way more people than just being on HD2. And on top of it, for me at this point in my life, when there is a sports topic or a topic in general, which is why I enjoyed doing Balloon Party and the Tim McKernan Show podcast, that's what's going to engage me. Mm-hmm. And there were times with TMA in the last however many, I don't know, year or two, where I would just sit here and I'd just be like, okay, I'm going to just see what Ella Reese is doing on Instagram. And I know people saw it. I mean, I wasn't doing it to be just like, because we didn't have breaks. So it's like, okay, we got 40 more minutes. I'm re-energized. Yeah. And if I'm re-energized, and if you got Martin, who's active as fuck on this thing, I mean, he texts and works on the show, I think, more than anybody at the moment, actually.
Certainly in the guest booking department.
Yeah. And certainly hijacking your dossier.
It's a welcome hijack.
The hijacking of the and Martin puts things in there.
It's for us.
Yes, it truly is for our entertainment.
It really makes me giggle.
Yeah, but the first time he did it,
he fooled me. I thought you did it.
Mike Bush going to join us at 7:05 to talk about the Musial Awards, and I'm like, God, what the fuck's Jackson doing without
I went
talking to me
rogue.
about that?
I went rogue.
What the hell are we doing here?
We never ever have guests.
And Martin
to
walks
start
in, he
the
goes,
show.
"Oh, you guys actually thought?" He goes, "No, that was me." I just
And since then, it's kind of like I kind of look forward to seeing what he's going to put in there every morning.
Let's see. Brad with a change. Oh, seasons change, people change. Expose. Wonderful reference. TMA talking politics before January 6th, and when there were huge sports stories, and adding in the slap and tickle is what has made TMA great for 20 years. Thank you, Dan. And he has told me it's Ulrich.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. Ulrich. And I guess I should like it since it's actually pronounced. Was there a time when Jay Jr. filled in for a long stretch? I am old. That's from Toy Maltese Mafia Family, one of my favorite names in the YouTube chat. Yes, absolutely. He was the go-to fill-in guy.
Yeah.
And I know, and I'm not expecting everybody to have listened to every minute of last week's podcast, but I know I've talked about this on other editions and maybe on TMA as well. For real, in May of 2022, so we're 5 months in, things are going well here from a revenue standpoint, because whereas I kind of, quote, knew what the ballpark number of annual revenue for TMA would be, they didn't.
Sure.
So until it actually is on the books, you know, I could just be one of these fucking charlatans in this industry.
God, I love that word.
And I feel, because I've been on the receiving end of the charlatans. I got all this ad revenue, and then the time comes and you give them a time slot and they got nothing.
Yeah.
And so I think they're just like, okay, we'll bring this dumb shit over here. We'll keep him from going to KMOX. We'll kid him. He wants to do TMA, fine. We'll put it on HD2. We got nothing on there anyway.
Yeah.
And, you know, whatever. And then all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, this TMA thing has a bunch of money attached to it. Holy shit, Balloon Party's, you know, doing what it's doing, and the numbers. Oh wow, we got a little situation here that we weren't anticipating, which was, I think, more of a defensive move to keep me from going to KMOX. If we really like to break down the strategy of the whole thing, and when we were having that conversation 5 months in, Tommy goes, "Is there anything you'd like to do with the show? Anything?" I go, "Yeah, Jay Jr. Jay Jr. would add to the show in a monster way." And they were going to bring Jennings on. And I guess so that was 2022, and Jay passed away in 22. Yeah. God, man, it's like almost 2 years to the day, yeah. I think.
It was right. It was in the late winter.
It was in November.
Winter,
it was in November.
Winter, so I meant to say, not late winter, late November.
And, I mean, that's what wound up happening, unfortunately. And then Chairman Kurt got in the mix, and then things took a turn, not specific to Hubbard or TMA, just our industry last July. And so that's why I told Chairman Kurt when the Sound Story thing came open, I said, hey, man, don't do this based on TMA hopes. They got to be completely separate. Because in my mind, I'm like, I might fucking leave. I don't know what I'm going to do, you know? And I don't want him to be like, oh, I'll do this so I can be on TMA. And then I leave, and then he's like, dude, what the fuck? Because he had a nice position going elsewhere. So anyway, there's more information. Piddles, you must know I'm a hooper and support your NBA updates. I'm in the same boat. Never had hockey on TV at home, but always had NBA on your not alone sweet prince.
I got a woman with nipple rings on my side.
Well, she's on my side with the glasses, but she'd be more on my side if I had the beard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think either of us can lose.
If I went back home today and said to my wife, hey, you know, there's some people in the YouTube chat, including one lady with nipple rings, and they kind of want me in Jackson.
Yes.
And they really want me to grow the beard back. She'd go, okay.
Should I organize a petition? We have 10,000 signatures demanding Tim brings his beard back. Your wife can't deny that.
What do you think would be more aesthetically improving for me?
Okay.
Getting the hair transplants, or keeping the head shaved, growing the beard, or keeping the head shaved, growing the beard, and going with the glasses? We'll tweet this out with a Gallup poll.
I'll go the third option, that last option. That I think is
the beard, head shaved, glasses.
Well, because
then I get to 6'3" and I do that surgery in China.
Right.
And then at that point, I'm at Napoli, I'm at Bricktops,
yep.
and I'm at Brio.
Yep. You're renting Lambos, and things are going great.
Yep.
And
that's what I'll be doing.
Getting a good price on them, too.
Kids, Dad's got a condo in Clayton now. You're going to be here every other weekend. That part's not true. Every other weekend.
And it's like the Clooney apartment up in the air, where it's like a ficus and like one pizza restaurant as the decoration, like their menu. God, that's good stuff. No, yeah, I think that's the best, because like hair is like better, obviously, but they're times where like you've been bald for so long that it's like
I kind of feel like
when Urlacher came back with hair, I was like, what the fuck?
I know, and I kind of think that's what it would look like. At the same time, he's bigger than me.
Just by a little.
No, he is. He
By a
is.
little.
He is. Chairman Kurt's in the YouTube chat, and he says 55-45. MLS is leading over NBA right now, and she
Pish
says,
posh.
"Boo hiss."
Pish posh. I don't give a fuck.
You don't care. You want to be in the minority.
It's fine. Good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with being in the minority on things.
Yeah. Oh, it's
For real.
if I feel passionate about it, I
Right.
certainly do.
All right, let's get to the election then.
All right. Good stuff.
Segue. Jackson, we haven't talked about this at all, on air or off air.
No, it's actually like being busy with like the show and transition change thing kind of kept my mind off of it,
Yeah.
which was kind of nice. And certainly after the fact, it was very nice to not to think about it.
Hold on. Jackson grow a soul patch to better connect with Blues and Battlehawks fans.
I can grow
Hunchback of Vaughncast.
I can grow facial hair. It's just you won't see it because it's white. So it really sucks.
Yeah.
It's like a tease.
You think a little billy goat.
Like my beard connects. Like it's great. That's a lot of people's problem is their beard doesn't connect. Mine does in a great way.
But you just can't tell that it is.
No. And then I think dyeing
Aaron in St. Chuck says diet red.
like Spezia. No, I think dyeing facial hair might be on the Mount Rushmore of most Hoosier things to do, and so I won't do it.
Dyeing facial hair in general or doing it red?
Dyeing it any color.
Really?
I don't know.
Really?
Now people are gonna be like, I dye it, and this is why.
I'm going to have to bring that up tomorrow on 101.
And then it's
I'm
gonna be a
going.
whole thing. I just like if you're in your 20s dyeing your beard, that is Hoosier. That is Hoosier. That is Hoosier.
Yeah, because I had a little darkness when I grow my beard out.
Yeah.
It's more. It's not light, but it's a lighter shade of.
Right. Because your hair color would be brown.
Yeah, when they were doing the whole thing at St. Louis Hair Restoration, they're like, "Oh, you have dark hair still. You don't have gray." I was like, "Oh, fuck, I don't know. I haven't seen it since 2006."
Yeah.
Beats the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I got a little gray here, which I'm fine with. But the hair that comes out is actually like naturally, it's more brownish than dark. So anyway, do with that what you want. All right. So you were talking about the election, and then we went to hair dye.
Surprise, surprise! I was disappointed with the results.
Start seeing the Livy Jack things pop into the.
It's fine. I mean, I'm certainly not alone in the people being disappointed in the results. Surprised, not entirely. Surprised, not entirely. I just think it's such a perception thing. I think in a world where you can access so much so fast, perception more so than anything is so important. And the perception is in a way where Americans feel that he was the best choice. And there's a lot of issues going around. There's a lot of people, I think, I don't know this, but like I feel like there's a lot of single issue voters out there. And there's some big issues in that term, both for Democrats and for Republicans. But I just think perception is such a big thing. And I think people perceive the country one way when reality would tell you it's another way. And I think that made a huge difference in this election. There's a lot of people out there who think we're in a recession. There's a lot of people out there think we're in a recession. And that, to me, is like, there it is. That's why what happened. That's just not the case. And
did it bother you as much like if somebody would have told you on Monday night of the day before Election Day or even Tuesday morning what would happen? Did it bother you as much as you thought it was going to bother you?
No. I was the most bothered in November of 2016. Because I felt that, because that vindicated how it went down. You know, had he lost in 2016, I think it would have been like, okay, this style of politics probably isn't going to work. Like, we'll try something else. It vindicated in 2016, and now.
Well, I think November 2024 vindicates the whole movement.
Oh yeah, that cements it to me.
Yeah,
I thought 2016 vindicated. This cemented it.
Yeah,
and I thought 2020 was just kind of like a.
I couldn't have been more like shocked in November 2016.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I remember our show. I know you weren't on at the time. Fuck, you were probably a freshman at Missouri then.
Nope, freshman at Florida Gulf Coast.
Ah, that's right, Fort Myers. Yeah. And we talked about it on the show. And I remember my guy that I always was more worked up about than anybody was Greitens. And longtime TMA listeners will be able to validate that. But I remember saying, hey, people need to start paying attention because obviously there's a large number of people who see some things that, you know, that they just can't believe are out there if they're going to vote for Donald Trump. I was stunned on election night 2016. Stunned. 2020 I'm up for grabs from my standpoint going into it. I became I don't know what the right, I want to say disaffected. I don't know if that's the right term. Is that the right
Unaffected?
I detached. January 6th just like broke me. But the reaction on TMA on January 7th, that morning after, is what ended politics and the discussion of it on TMA. And then I truly did just like detach from it, relative to how much I was interested in it before. And so last Tuesday, so I guess a week ago tonight, and then waking up the next morning, I was like, I'm really surprised by this, but I don't want to say I don't care so much as, okay, this is what the people want, and that's the deal, and so I'm at peace with it, because for so long I'd been like, oh my God, November 2024. Oh, fuck. Now, what I think, and then also the sports betting thing was something that kind of softened it, even though I think I'll look back historically like in a decade and go, can you believe that you were like so, focused on like liking that you ignored this? But again, it isn't close. There isn't a civil war breaking out over it. So I'm kind of, at peace, I guess, for lack of a better term.
A little bit, yeah.
I think, what do I think is going to happen and versus what I hope is going to happen are two totally different things. I hope it goes wonderfully. If this is the answer, then God bless America. Certainly in my position, being, in the demographic boxes that I check off, hey, great. God bless America. Wonderful for me. Better net income and the whole deal. Wonderful. I think this is probably what I think is short-term bump. The deficit goes up like my cock at an Ella Reese, Abigail Maxine, and God only knows in the next handful of years. That's what I think. Because at this point, it's like, I don't have to worry about running for re-election in 2028. We're just this is a legacy festival here. And I got Senate and I got the House and
Supreme Court.
And it's just on. That's what I think. Yeah. But if it winds up being a great thing, I mean, listen, there are a large number of people who I like or love, because I'm talking about my parents and my in-laws, if I had to guess, who I would imagine voted for Trump. I don't know. And a number of my friends who absolutely did. And it's like, okay, God bless. And they're, a number of them are really intelligent people. So, it's not like I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe it. We can't talk. Like, hey, I don't fucking know. What do I know?
Right.
This is what I think. But hey, I sure as hell hope I'm wrong. That's where I come in on the whole thing. It would be great. It would be great. I can't wrap my mind around it. I don't know what circumstance I could have possibly voted for Donald Trump. I really don't. Now, I want to talk about the Democratic side of things, because there are so many elements of this that I think, and I'm glad, are getting a lot of attention. Number one of the things that I think is getting a lot of attention that's kind of become like the, give me an example of something that's more social media driven that isn't true in reality that you can think of. And anybody's welcome to Disenchanted. Thank you, Eric. That's exactly what I was looking for. He really was one of the first to sound the alarm about Greitens. Thank you, Toy Maltesemo. I like when people acknowledge that I'm been on these things. Yes. What was I asking for there?
So you're asking.
So things that are just kind of, they become like media narratives. So this isn't like even me going after, like media narratives that aren't necessarily accurate, but they become comfortable to say. One that for me, having done this for as long as I've done it, downtown St. Louis and St. Louis as a whole is trending this. Now it's safe to say, and now everybody kind of shits on it. Even if some things are going well, right, it like goes in the face of what the narrative is. But I started talking about when I first was on the radio and was surprised by how much pushback I got that downtown St. Louis is a shithole. But that was only because I started getting a chance to travel around the country. That the Dome is the fucking second or third worst building in the NFL. And that was like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, I get to go to all of them. This isn't up for debate. This thing's a shithole and it's 7 years old. There's got to be better examples of it. But either way, do you know where I'm going with this? What are we hearing now, post-election, the autopsy on the Democratic Party of why and what this election is a message to Democrats on? Let's see, ladies and gentlemen, Jackson Burkett.
A lot of stuff on it. A lot of people
Jackson Burkett
breaking it down. I don't know what the main thing that you're referring to would be. I don't even know.
Jon Stewart actually called it out last night on The Daily Show, and I'm like, oh, look at this. Okay, that this is a rejection of wokeness.
Oh.
And then he showed a bunch of politicians who, if you didn't know any better, they were running campaigns that actually looked like Republican campaigns and repudiations of wokeness and social justice, and or Kamala Harris talking about having her whatever it is. And I think that listen, that has never been. If you talk like I talk, you're not necessarily going to fall under the umbrella of woke. But I think that's an easy out. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's like blaming crime for St. Louis's issues. Is it a part of it? Absolutely. Is it the reason why we're where we are? Absolutely not. It's like Stan Kroenke. Is Stan Kroenke the reason why St. Louis doesn't have an LT? I would tell you no, it's not. Because if St. Louis were thriving, Stan Kroenke and St. Louis probably would have been in a position to do a deal. I do not subscribe to the viewpoint that Mike Martz espoused in that audio we play. I do not think that was the plan in 2001 to move the franchise. As Martin said, that would be a real long game because he wouldn't have been able to do it for fucking 14 years.
Right.
But either way, I think, hey, listen, if people, and I know there are a large number of people, I don't know if it's the majority, but a large number of people who are fans of Donald Trump. There is a large portion of Americans who would fall under the umbrella of either evangelical or, when I was raised, Catholic, who are single-issue voters, and that single issue is abortion. God bless America. And so they're going to vote for the Republican no matter if they think that he shares their views or not. As long as he's going to get Supreme Court justices, they're going to continue to keep Roe v. Wade on the outside looking in. Totally understand that. Is it where I am? Of course, it's not where I am, but hey, God bless. And I don't think those people are like hillbillies because they view that that's a human life. I mean, it's as asinine as it is. It's like, well, I mean, it is. We're doing this thing subjectively when we're going to count it. It's a totally, I sure as hell am not the person to try to legislate that. But what I have found is some real self-inflicted wounds played a role in this, in my opinion. Now, listen, I'm sitting here talking like I know. But one of the first mistakes on this whole, we can take this thing all the way back to 2016. The last three Democratic candidates were not really voted on by the people so much as they were by the Democrats, so much as they were anointed or manipulated to get there. Hillary Clinton had a fight on her hands with Bernie Sanders. I don't know how many people actually remember this, but that's what was going on. But it was like, this is her time. Furthermore, Joe Biden actually wanted to run, and I realize some people are looking at Joe Biden as he, stumbles around right now, and they think of that, but that wasn't the guy who was the 2016 Joe Biden. I'm not saying he was great. I'm just saying that, 8 years has made quite a bit of difference for Joe Biden. I mean, I think everybody would agree with that. I don't know. Don't really care. And Barack Obama talked him out of running. It was Hillary Clinton's time. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, if you want to take it back to 2008, that's where they did battle. So Bernie Sanders became the one to challenge Hillary Clinton because a lot of people weren't really on board with Hillary Clinton. And then it kind of became she's anointed and we're going to get Bernie out of the way. And if you can remember back to 2020, the reason why I'm like, I think Joe Biden's going to wind up being the nominee is because it was going to be Bernie Sanders. And this isn't me saying his politics are good or his politics are bad. This is an observation of the landscape. And then Joe Biden, who was, on his way out of the Democratic primary, was the only one who could get some demographics that are important to the Democrats on board. Buttigieg couldn't. Klobuchar couldn't, and they were actually polling better than Biden, and they couldn't afford to have Bernie Sanders be the nominee, and their opinions, not necessarily for the White House so much as down ballot if he would turn out to be a Walter Mondale kind of candidate, and they just lose everything, and Trump has a second turn, and he has control of Congress. So then Joe Biden, they step aside, and Joe Biden gets presented as this is the solution, even though there was real momentum for Bernie Sanders. And then you get to 2024. And this is something that I guess more people can recall. Are you of the opinion, I'm curious on this, are you of the opinion that Joe Biden voluntarily stepped aside or was forced out?
Oh, man, that's a tough call. If I had to lean one way, I'd say more likely forced than voluntarily. But I think I think I could see both sides, but I think probably closer to forced out.
Okay, I am of the opinion, as you know, that I believe he was forced out. And one of the things, it's kind of a little sneaker thing, because it certainly wasn't what most people were focused on that Sunday morning when he did make that announcement, was he also, in that speech, immediately endorsed Kamala Harris. And so any hope of anybody else being the nominee now, and I listened to this interview with Nancy Pelosi. It was over the weekend. Wow, there was a lot of meat on that bone. I'm telling you, you can be like, Nancy Pelosi, what are you doing? I listen to interviews, man. I don't fucking care. I listen to Donald Trump interviews. It doesn't matter. I want to hear what people have to say. And she absolutely, I'm basically saying, you know, we were interested in maybe Kamala would have been a stronger candidate if she would have emerged from primaries and would have been tested at a convention, as opposed to, you know, President Biden, though, decided that he was going to endorse her. And I think that was his way of going, okay, you're going to force me out. All right, then here's what we're going to do. I'm going to shove this up your ass and I'm going to endorse her. So I'll step aside, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to endorse her. So you won't have Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer. And I'm not saying that they would have won, to be clear. But when you have your third straight anointment of a candidate, and I realize Hillary Clinton by definition was not anointed. Joe Biden was not anointed. Kamala Harris was not anointed. But in all three cases, it is my opinion, as somebody who voted for Hillary Clinton, and I can't believe I did. I never thought I ever would. But again, given the alternative, I'd do it over again. Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris, I think all three were manipulated into being the nominee. Not them as individuals, but the machine manipulated them in. And I think you have a frustration on the part of people that don't identify as Republicans or Democrats going, our will is never really acknowledged and you're just putting this person in there.
Right.
And so therefore, these people are not necessarily the strongest candidates. And they're not the people who, in a vacuum, people would prefer to be the Democratic nominee. Again, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying had this process played out differently, it would have been a different result, but I think there is that element. Now, I don't know if Joe Biden, once he decided, okay, fuck you, I'm going to resign, then endorsed Kamala Harris, but I could absolutely see that as being what took place. I also think, going back to Biden, choosing her as a running mate was an absolute disaster of a move. I disagree with it. He made it clear he was going to select minority female. I think that is not, hey, if you want to do that, God bless, be my guest. All day long, do it. Feel free. But to announce that as the reason you're going to select somebody undercuts that person. Because then it makes it look like, well, they might not have been the best, but they checked the boxes.
Right.
That isn't cool. So you furthermore, if she's going to be somebody who's going to potentially be, as you said, a bridge candidate, so you're only going to run for one term, is what he did talk about in 2020, then you have to look at what she was in 2019, and it was a disastrous presidential campaign, the brief campaign she ran.
Yeah.
So that's a mistake. In addition to, then he decides he's going to continue to run and run again in 2024. And it wasn't intended to until what I still think may have been the ultimate House of Cards moment, sending him out there without medication to debate, where it became, okay, this will force him to resign because this is going to be such a clusterfuck. And we'll have some of our Democratic operatives on TV and writing for papers and podcasts talking about how this is a disaster. He needs to resign. I'm talking to people inside the Democratic committee and we need to remove him. So Does it sound conspiracy-based? I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me. This is actually what I think. And therefore, whereas I see in part the success, and I mean it's a landslide. I mean, I realize she got 200 plus electorate. What the fuck I'm trying to say? That she got 200 plus. This wasn't like the Mondale Dukakis situation. Electoral college votes is what I was trying to say. That this situation, I think, is in part an endorsement of him, but also a repudiation of a party that has become more of a party that is about people with college educations and making a nice amount of money, and not necessarily what it was for a number of years, I guess about 40 years, the party that people who aren't necessarily making a good amount of money could relate to. And so all of that combined, I think, is how you got to last Tuesday. There is my master's thesis. Thoughts, concerns, feel free.
Certainly has a lot of good points in there. I can't speak much to like the theory element of it. But yeah, I think a lot of that tracks, certainly. And I think it's like Trump forced the Republican Party to change, whereas the Democrats want their candidate to change to them. And that's what I think the biggest issue is that, I mean, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, even, like, those are centrists. Those are centrists. Those are not true, like, to me at least. Those are centrists. Those are people who are much more center on the political spectrum than they are left, in my opinion. And I think that what they Democrats really need is someone who is left, like Bernie Sanders. Like, that's who I voted for in primaries. That's who I wanted.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's who I wanted. Because that's a guy who makes change. That's a guy who doesn't cowtail the corporations. That's a guy who actually is trying to get more money into the American working class pockets.
Yeah, see, and when I have these conversations about politics, I'm never really getting into policy. Mm-hmm. Number one, because I know I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that you need to follow that. God bless. You may know. I know I don't. On some things, I'm pretty confident on, but others I don't. But I'm more intrigued by the observation of the game, so to speak, which is why I was like, oh my God, they're going to force Joe Biden out. I don't know what the fuck's going on. It just took watching 10 minutes of that debate go, holy shit, something's going on. Either he's just, he's either senile and they're going to have him step down, or they sent him out there without, because I mean, when he delivered the State of the Union earlier this year, I mean, he looked like he was at my house at 5 in the morning. And then the guy who comes out there for the debate, totally different guy. Because I went into watching that debate going, okay, they're going to pump him up with some shit again, and he's going to go out there. And instead, you had, the kind of the shuffling old man going out there, and I'm like, okay, something went on. And it's my opinion that was not. And then I go, oh God, this process is gross. So I don't know if there is a way, candidate-wise, not policy-wise, because immigration and the economy and some of the legislation early on in the term that played a role in inflation, that can't be changed with the candidate. But it's a lack of recognition of how unpopular the current president is to have his running mate run and then therefore be tied to the administration. Right. Even though, now that this is over, I'm not saying it I'm saying it, hey, I think, can we agree here that the vice president, more often than not, there's like a joke in politics, like, I want to go into anonymity. Okay, then we're going to have you be vice president. Right. The vice president is like sitting there. Yeah. Vice president.
Unless you're Dick Cheney.
Yeah, that actually, in my lifetime, I would actually agree with you, and that comes from, for lack of a better term, a reliable source who was around that situation in the early 2000s. But with that all said, I don't know if a different candidate, if Joe Biden would have said in 2022 that he's not going to run for a second term, and there would have been a real process to have the next candidate, would the Democrats have won? I don't know on that. I don't know. And my reasoning for that is I think the quote-unquote success from the Democratic standpoint and the failure from the Republican standpoint of the midterms did not force the Democrats to have the awakening that the Obama administration, for example, did in 2010. And the Clinton administration had to have in 94 that, okay, this isn't going well, we've got to make some changes. And instead, it was viewed as a repudiation of Donald Trump, that there was no red wave. And it's like, okay, well, we don't need to do anything. We're in a good spot. And so nothing was really changed. And in reality, that wasn't necessarily where people were. So again, I'm not here on this podcast because, people are, no matter what I say, they're going to have their own views, as they should. Who the fuck am I? I like to observe the game. But what really stands out to me individually is how, when I woke up on Wednesday morning of last week, I'm like, I'm not like good, so to speak, so much as I'm like, I'm accepting, and I'm like, okay, this is what people want. It's not like this is what people want 2016, where I'm going, what the fuck? Yeah. I'm going, people already kind of have an idea, and they still want it, Yeah. So hey, I think the other commentary I'd have on it is, wow, is it? It's what an illustration of the power of media and social media, because I'm of the opinion this is bullshit. And by bullshit, I mean when I'm watching, or the game, the grifting, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I truly mean this when I say it, on both sides, and how your perspective is oftentimes going to be dictated. 90% of the time, I throw an arbitrary number at it, by where you get your information, by who you listen to, or who you read, or what is in your TikTok algorithm, or whatever it might be. And personally, I believe that began with Fox News in the mid-1990s, and then CNN saw the success of the model, and Fox News played into it beautifully, and I'm sure they had wonderful profits during the Obama administration, and CNN really enjoyed 2017 through January 2021, and going, okay, now we got our two anti-heroes that are good for our bottom line, even if our message is going to be support the liberals or support the conservatives. A Barack Obama presidency probably did wonders for Fox News, and a Donald Trump presidency probably did wonders for CNN. So I think the media is culpable in all of these, whichever one you want. But when you don't, I can't recall who it was who's going, here's the Democratic debate coverage, or here's the debate coverage on CNN, and they have one Republican. Here's the debate coverage on Fox News, and they have one Democrat. I mean, it's not really there to get a, here's the one dumb shit.
It's like theater.
Well, it's like when they, I don't know if you can't really remember Hannity and Colmes. I mean, Sean Hannity had a co-host. His name was Alan Colmes. Whereas Fox News coincidentally has people who look, in particular the ladies, who look a certain way. Alan Colmes would make me look like George Clooney sitting next to him, okay? Mm-hmm. Wasn't a coincidence. And while he was on the left, he wasn't exactly the strongest sparring partner for Sean Hannity. It was kind of a Washington Generals Globetrotter situation. Yeah. So, yeah, we have one, but, so that's the game. And then that means, the Globetrotters won again. Conservatives are right. You know what I mean? So it's all, and I see it, and I just go, oh, my fucking God. I'm just not that invested in it anymore. It doesn't, I've done fine and take your pick of whatever administration. I just don't know. I don't know if I've ever really had something that's policy-wise where I go, God, that really, outside of what we all can speak to, and that would be 2020. Yeah. And I would imagine that you're going to have, Donald Trump was in office for when all that got going. I'm not blaming Donald Trump so much as I'm saying you could have had a Democrat, you would have had shutdowns. So if you had Donald Trump and you had shutdowns, you see what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm just kind of like, but bottom line, this is what the people want. Yeah. Okay, this is what the people want, and we're not going to have, Bush v. Gore 2000. You're not going to have January 6th crap. And so maybe that's why I exhale, because it's like, oh God, I feel like all hell's about to break loose. And instead, it's not that I don't think all hell's going to break loose so much as I just think we're going to be paying for it. And then we're going to be paying for it, in a macro sense down the road. That's what I think. But I hope, truly, this isn't like I'll say I hope it. I really hope, like, okay, if this is what people want, then hey, God bless, and maybe it'll work. So much of politics in the American economy is what people feel.
Yeah. Yep.
It's what people feel.
Yep.
If you look at if you want to go back to 2008, with the exception of the outlier that is 2020, the more charismatic candidate has won. I think we would agree. And it's not to say John McCain was not charismatic. It's just Barack Obama was fucking, charisma on overload, and Donald Trump, whatever it is, it's certainly something, charisma or otherwise. But, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, that isn't necessarily charisma. And so you have that, and then there's also just the feeling, even though, as you made reference to, the numbers don't necessarily indicate it, the feeling that this administration is responsible for an economic mess, and if that is what's going to make people feel better, and it actually does translate to great results, and it doesn't come at the cost of my children or your children with a deficit that winds up with an economic collapse, then God bless America. Great, wonderful, truly wonderful. What stands out to me most about the whole thing, for real, number two first is how close the Amendment 2 thing is, and I'd love to know the reasoning for those because I think people on the left and right voted against it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That'd be second, and then first would be like how surprisingly I was just like, okay, whatever. I like how that's just, I wasn't like raging in 2016 so much. I'm like, what the fuck? And this time around, I'm like, okay, this is what people want, and they want it in large numbers, and God bless, maybe they're right. So tip of the cap, and I hope that this is going to be a great thing. That's not bullshit. That's how I really feel. I was really surprised. I'm surprised that that's how I feel. That's my reaction.
Right. I just think there's such a massive difference, more so, and I turned 18 in 2016, so I've only voted in a handful of elections, but I've never seen a perception difference this wide in my lifetime, where people on one side perceive America's things are happening in one way, and the other side sees it the other way. Like, policy-wise, I've seen big differences and gaps, but perception-wise, I don't think I've ever seen. And with stuff that honestly is so, like, in the priority rankings of things, it's so far down the line. When you ask somebody, why'd you vote this way or why'd you vote that way? I'm like, that's the reason, like, you're against it? Like, that's just, to me, is off-putting. And
man, it's the economy. What are you hearing otherwise?
Oh, I think that's the main. I think that's the main.
Okay, so then what? Well,
it's just like, I voted for Donald Trump because I'm done with all these, with these women playing or men playing in women's sports.
Oh, okay,
I'm just like, oh my, like, oh, so like, to me, it's like, oh, they got to you. Like, it's like, come on, dude. Like, I just thought that's one thing. The economy is obviously a big thing. Immigration is a big thing that I see.
Yeah, and that, as far as the I'm done with women playing or whatever, men playing women's sports thing, that was a calculated decision by the campaign to not engage. Mm-hmm. And to not counter what I think was a $150 million ad campaign.
Yeah, I saw the campaign.
With the guy on the basketball team.
It's like that's like, well, like, it makes me sad in a way. It's like
that's the thing. I'm just like, okay, it just doesn't. That's the thing. Like, to get work for me, mm-hmm. And I'm not saying. Maybe it's because I'm 48 and you're 26. Mm-hmm. And also it's not like I would imagine probably more of my friends than otherwise. Voted for Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. I have people I love who vote for Donald Trump.
Well, my parents and my wife's parents, I would imagine, all did. I don't know. I don't care. But hey, whatever. For me, it's like, okay, great. But January 6th was where I was just like, oh, fuck. But I honestly remember thinking, okay, this is the bottom, and now this moment had to happen, and now it'll be, and then once that was like a month or two later, it started to be, well, that wasn't really necessarily, and I'm like, okay, that'll do it. My time here is up, and God bless. So that's why I'm kind of disengaged, detached, whatever. And I'm not saying I necessarily enjoy that so much as it's clear it's not necessarily being done in good. Not necessarily, it isn't being done in good faith, and I'm not, to be crystal clear on this, saying the Republicans are not acting in good faith. I just told you my opinion on the last three presidential election cycles for the Democrats, and I think that's one of the core issues. I don't think that can happen again in 2028, because if you gave me 100-1, and I had to bet $100. 100 would be a nice payoff. And said, who's going to be the 2028 Democratic nominee? You got anybody?
Probably Newsom.
I don't know. I think I'd probably take that if you said that you got to pick somebody. I would go that direction. But the point being, there isn't necessarily a clear leader of the party. I've always held Barack Obama in high esteem, and I'm like, what the fuck was he doing over the last couple months? He kind of got down into the, he went down into the dumb shit,
Yeah, right. Engaging.
Yeah, I'm just like, I always thought you, kind of one of the reasons why I respected you is that you didn't engage in that crap, So, yeah, but to be clear here, I did not see this coming. I did not. I wasn't like, I think she's going to win. I know this. I did not see the size, but the size of the victory gives me greater peace, as crazy as it is.
Yeah, in a way.
Again, would I short the presidency? Absolutely. But I mean, it's also like, how do you judge it in the moment, or what the tab is at the end of it? But either way, fuck, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be great. Do I think that? No. But this is what people want, and I'm at peace with that.
Right. Like I know, like, he will be credited with fixing the economy when it wasn't broken. Like that's to come. That's to come. That is to come. Is that he will be credited fixing the economy when it was never broken in the first place.
Yeah, and a lot of people obviously don't share your view on that. I mean, the Biden administration is responsible for legislation that played a role in putting a lot of dollars into printing a lot of money that played a role in inflation. So that is a real thing. But specific to how an administration will handle things and the deficit, that's the thing that I would be paying attention to. But I know that's not necessarily where people are, and I also understand that. If you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're going, what in the fuck? I've noticed the cost of goods. The issue is that people were still willing to pay them, and so the margins were still there, and people are like, oh, we'll just keep the prices here, even if inflation is down, and now the cost of the goods sold are not what they needed to be when we did have the byproduct of COVID. So, yeah, I don't know. My headline for me individually is... I'm surprised at how at peace I am with it. And not to say that I don't care. I want to make sure I'm emphasizing that again. Not that I say I don't care so much as I'm just like, oh, if you would have told me this a week out, I would have been like, oh my fucking... But because it was so... And it wasn't a landslide again, but because it was such a clear win, it's like, all right, got no other choice other than to be on board. And hey, maybe he's got it all figured out. He just strikes me as completely full of shit, and it's so obvious. But fuck, hey, it's not to say that there have been guys that I've liked in the past that aren't completely full of shit. He's 100%. Just more blunt about it. So whatever. Let's see what we got. There's a guy with a yawn emoji, but yet is watching the podcast as it's in its 90th minute. I always enjoy those, and I guess he's talking about me having a lopsided skull, so he's probably one of those people who are really into me, for lack of a better term. 28 nominee will either be Josh Shapiro or Bashir, the governor of Kentucky. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hey, listen, anything.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it feels so long away, even though it's only 4
Tom
years.
Mites, who has been, this guy has been, there's another guy. He is obsessed with not talking sports, and he's been doing this for like 8 years. It's the strangest thing. Like, find another show, man. I don't get it. Like, why would you continue to? I just don't, for the life of me. Like, I'd love to have Tom Mites on as a guest. Like, why are you still listening? We don't need it. We're good.
No.
Everything's fine.
No.
It's not going to change. I don't want to tell you. We've been doing this for a long time, and it's worked. Let's see. Y'all live in Webster. LOL. I don't know who that's talking to. Both options sucked, in my opinion. Ultimate grifter. I don't know who the ultimate grifter is. Alex is saying Trump doesn't get held to any standards by the media. I guess he's talking about Trump being the ultimate grifter. I guess it's tough when I'm going back in reverse order.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, I think, I don't know. Well,
Team McKernan at InsideSTL.com.
This one,
you can always send them in.
Yeah. 2 and 3 passing softened for sure in the short term, because those, we knew that before the final results.
How about 3 winning by way more than 2?
Yeah. Yeah. That was, if I would have had to bet before, I would have thought that 3 would have won by more than 2 would have, but not by a substantial amount more. But 3 passed really early in the night.
Saul Wright, we got along back at SLU in Mr. Wayner's class in 92. So this is a guy I was a classmate with at St. Louis U High who's in YouTube chat trolling me? What the fuck? That's like alarming.
Yeah.
Jesus. See, now it's like, oh God, I got a situation. It's never fun when there's a situation. Like standard hate is like,
Yeah.
Like Tom Mites, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Alex just went, oh boy. In the YouTube.
Should I title this one Standard Hate?
What's that?
Title of the podcast is Standard Hate?
I don't even know what we would go with yet on the title of the podcast, but now I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. I guess it's good though that it's on display and people can kind of see when we get one that's Tug and he's laughing because, yeah. I'd love to know who you are, and I'm quite certain you won't reveal yourself. And that's one of the magic elements of people like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are the ones that make it, like I said, that was one of the things with the balloon party hate. It's different than the TMA hate.
It's palatable.
But then I would ask you why, because you're on both.
It's like when some guy calls me gay. Like I don't give a fuck. Like that would have hurt me in 2005, when I was 7. But yeah.
But I don't know how to. But I'll sometimes try to explain it to people when I'm like just having booze and we're bullshit, and I go, yeah, there's the TMA thing's great, but there's some people who get a little too close to the fire.
There's that,
and it's a different thing. And Riz and I have talked about it. I'm like, hey man.
Yeah, the parasocial element.
I guess that's what it is.
Much more so in TMA.
I mean, now we got a guy here who supposedly I went to high school with, who's just sitting there like talking about my head.
It's 2:30 in the afternoon, by the way, on a Tuesday.
And dropping that we were in class together. I mean, it's like Bridget Fonda and Jennifer Jason Leigh, and I'm like, okay, now I got to deal with a fucking live one today. Oh God. Well, anyway. That's what the money's for, I guess.
Yeah.
Starting to get less enthused about it, though. It's like I need more.
Yeah.
But hey, those of you listening and those of you watching got to play it and got to watch it play out live. And now maybe you got a little more peek at what goes on.
Yeah. I do like one is palatable hate. That's what it was.
Yeah, well, it was like comment section hate.
Yeah.
It's just like dumb.
Yeah.
Whereas the TMA stuff, it's like, oh, you might show up at my house.
Yeah.
Oh, when I'm at a restaurant and I can tell you're staring at me, you're not a balloon party person.
No.
D. Mills says, what a time to be alive. It is what a time to be alive. Bevo Bill, I'll Venmo you $50 if you give me your name.
Yeah. You want to put it in that comment section right there?
Yeah, sure. Do you have anything you want to talk about while I'm typing?
Oh man, so much.
The Cavs off to an undefeated start.
It took me a little longer to walk into the studio because I was reading the great Zach Lowe tweet thread about the Cavs start and Kenny Atkinson's coaching philosophy. I would just like to, this is a quick message to Dennis Gates. Can we get 8 guys? Let's get 8.
You want 8? You want the rotation to be 8?
I want 8, maybe 9, maybe 10, no more than 10, and let's get them some sustainable minutes, and let's build out some rotations. Let's see who gels with who. And I know you got a lot. Maybe next year with the recruiting and the offseason transfers, maybe it's like, maybe we don't try to go for the 5th years who are like, have a ton of points scored in these smaller D1 schools. Like, maybe not, because that won't highlight the good freshmen you brought in and trying to develop. Too many guys. There's too many guys, not the guy. There's not enough the guy. Kobe Brown was the guy, and it worked.
This has to be liberating for you.
A little bit.
Yeah,
because I've kind of been talking like my pillow about this. Like, too many guys, not enough the guy. That's my take.
Thank you, Jackson, that was the equivalent of a fill. Tim's satellite shot went down. We need to fill with a forecast. Let's go to Kent with the 5-day. And then you just gave the 5-day.
But what if they went...
Bevo Bill, shockingly, is dark.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it. They value their anonymity.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing they want most.
Jackson, if Dennis the Doo-Doo Man doesn't make the tournament this year, is he going to get the short haircut? That's from Kwame and Voyukas IV, who loves the Billikens. Billikens, rah, rah, rah.
Just not making the tournament, I don't think gets him fired. I think another really bad season does. But that's just not making the tournament.
Part of it is what the size of his deal.
Is that right? I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that? Mm-mm. I think Gabe wrote about it. He's like owed $17 million.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot in college basketball.
Yeah, in college basketball. But that's the thing.
That's like Jimbo Fisher that's $17 million.
Right.
A lot.
So Gabe's kind of like, I don't want to do this after every game. Here's the deal. This is what he's owed. This is what it would look like.
Yeah, and also I hate starting over. I hate starting over with new coaches. I know it's like not a reason to not move on from a coach, but just in general, like starting over with a coach is such a pain in the ass.
Can you do all NBA Sports Center updates tomorrow? I want chaos in the 101 YouTube chat. I don't. That's MD 2020.
Don't tell me what to do. I can do whatever I want. I sang the national anthem or take me out to the ball game once to much critical acclaim.
I don't really look at the 101 YouTube chat too often, but I guess that's the one where the guy insinuated that he was the father of my children.
Oh, that's
today.
right. Yeah, that's the prime reason why you shouldn't go in there because that's.
But so okay.
Yeah,
I would much rather read that from somebody who, whatever. See if you follow me on this.
Okay.
Than a guy who is, like kind of scares me.
Yeah,
I mean, scares probably isn't the right word, but I'm disturbed by.
Yeah, alerts.
Yeah, the Bevo Bill guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because
it's like if you're, fucking I'll say it, I don't really care. If you went to St. Louis U High, there's a good chance things have gone well for you. It's kind of the way that it works, and you can say that sounds like I don't really give a fuck. We can do the balance sheet showdown on how it kind of works out for
Starbucks and Clayton on Clayton.
Yeah, not with me at all. Actually, I'd probably be on the low end. But it's just kind of the way things work out. And if you're sitting here watching me on YouTube and like trying to I'm like, oh, then you see what I'm saying? Like that's different than like a guy who's like, how's your wife and my kids?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's just like a,
Right.
I know you know what I'm saying.
Well, I think part of it comes from, especially TMA, like when we were on 105.7, definitely QFTA, like you are seeking out to come find us. Like if you're chances are you're not just like.
I agree with that. That's a very fair observation. I do think that that's important.
Right.
Because that's why last week on the TMA State of the Union thing, I said, I don't blame people on 101 for being upset in the slightest.
Totally.
And I'm not saying that to pay. None of them are watching this fucking thing or listening to the QFTA TMA State of the Union. If you're used to one style and you love Randy Carricker, as many people in St. Louis do, shit, I don't know if anybody has a higher approval rating in St. Louis sports media than Randy Carricker, for real. I'm saying that not because of the fact that they moved us into that time slot. I'm saying it for real.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, also, follow up to that, it's deserved as far as how he is to interact with him.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that sincerely. And then all of a sudden you got us, and it's obviously a different style of show, even though I guess there are some people who think we're just doing the exact thing that they were doing on opening drive, but it is a different style of show. And I have a real low approval rating. Martin can alienate some people. Doug probably has a higher approval rating, but that's what the TMA people, a lot of people don't, I know it sounds crazy to TMA people, but is that Doug from television? I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
Because they don't listen to TMA, so they don't know anything about it, which blows TMA people's minds. Right. But that's what I experienced with the balloon party thing. It's like, oh, you do another show? When's that on? Like, yeah, it's been, don't worry about it. You have HD2 by chance.
Right. And that's so, I think like 101 people like can just scroll by, see it on YouTube, or if like they watch other shows on 101 and they come in there, it's like it's easy to, but like with this, you are seeking it out. You are like, that's what I think changes the dynamic a little bit, is you're not just a passerby, you're like essentially on the bus.
Yeah, that might be the reason for the difference between the balloon party hate and the TMA thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't necessarily call it TMA hate. It's obsessive. Obsessive freaks me out more than like, you fucking suck, or this show fucking sucks, or talk sport, or whatever the stuff is. It's like, like, hey, I sat with you in Mr. Wayner's class in 1992, and then I go, oh, fuck. Yeah. That's a different deal. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, there aren't any of the classmates, even at Missouri, that are watching this, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Much less it's SLU, and things have gone well for them. This guy isn't, it hadn't gone well. There's not a wife and a few kids sitting at home with,
2:30 on Tuesday
with a bunch of money sitting around. So, I mean, that's just kind of the way that if you're obsessively following me around from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, let me go back. All right, Bevo Bill, of course, has not responded, even though I was just offering him $50 to let me know who he is. Let's see. Joseph Denicola, who's a great guy, by the way, said he just got his money refunded for the trivia. I guess they didn't explain it yet. The TMA trivia has been canceled. I started that with the outset at the podcast. All right. D. Mills, what a time to be alive. He was referring to the creepery that's going on here. D'Angelo Hopkins, Chairman Kurt says 54-46, MLS, the gap is closing. Oh, wouldn't that be... You want to talk about vindicated. Jackson, wouldn't you be vindicated?
No, well, I'd still be told I'm wrong.
Even if NBA wound up winning over MLS, you can go vote on this in TMA STL.
Yeah. Yes.
Ron Mackey says, I enjoyed the perspective today. Thank you. I don't know what perspective we're talking about, but God bless. Kwame Voyukas IV, Jack, I already answered that. I wish there would have been a conservative perspective. However, I appreciate your honesty. Well, I wasn't like touting Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. I was giving you my observation on how the Democrats failed and Donald Trump won. But I'm not like going, boy, I really like Kamala's policies or I don't like Trump's policies. That's not where I am on things. I obviously have views, but when I'm talking about the election last week, I'm not, but whatever, to each their own. I can't. Let's see. Ironically, teams that play structured basketball give Mizzou fits. Do you agree with that, Jackson?
Yeah. I mean, Dennis Gates is, if they're not in transition, they're struggling.
Mizzou needs to win conference game before they worry about making the tournament. Baby steps. It's Joshy Tuna. Guess I am not guessing anymore. Dave Matthews says, thought better of it.
Yeah, I don't know what any of this means because there's a message retracted from Dave Matthews, and I don't know what that message was. But it seems
Joshy
like
Tuna says, honest man. Toy Maltese Mafia family says, I'm addicted to placebos. Oh, see, I'm not on the TMA STL YouTube account, so I guess you can see what messages are retracted?
No, I cannot. I have no idea what that message retracted.
Right, but I don't have that on mine because I'm not in the admin of TMA STL. I'm just in my personal.
All I see is Dave Matthews retracted the message. Yeah.
So is Dave Matthews the guy who I went to high school with? There wasn't a Dave Matthews in my class.
No, I have no idea what this Dave Matthews is. Or what he said.
But you probably know, LOL. Okay.
I don't know what any of this means. I feel like I'm missing something.
Speaking of wags.
Wives and girlfriends.
Yeah, I know, but I don't. Were we speaking of any?
Not there, but again, I don't think it's all kind of flowing together.
I was standing in front of LB3's girlfriend and Theo Weiss's girlfriend in the front row behind OU's bench, and they were banty as fuck. Chairman Kurt just texted me to say that he posted something about Blues wives. That's what was retracted, and that's why the flow of the conversation is not making sense.
Got it. Thank you, Chairman Kurt.
Thank you, Chairman Kurt. Do you think things will be as bad as the left thinks it will be under Trump? I'm liberal, and it scares me to death. I posted this earlier. I don't know. My honest answer is I don't know, and I obviously hope not. But at the same time, I say I obviously hope not. I'm sure there are some people who want it to completely fail under him. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, I understand. I remember Rush Limbaugh in 2008, one of the ensuing days after Obama was elected or he was inaugurated, he said, I want him to fail, And people are like, how can you say that? It's good for the country. He goes, well, I don't like the policies that he's going to implement, and therefore I want him to fail. So I do understand that. To me, I'm like, okay, maybe this guy, maybe this guy's great,
Sure.
I certainly don't think that. But hey, I'm open to it, and if it is, then God bless America. For real. I seriously mean that. It isn't the way I think, but he's not like going to interact with, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this is my coping mechanism. I don't know. But I'm just like, I guess throughout the course of my life, I just haven't noticed a lot of like specific micro changes because of who's in offices. But I also know that certain candidates winning make people feel certain things. Taking a pick on whoever you want to. I remember Janie the lesbian calling in the morning after the 2016 election, and she was fucked up by it. As I don't know if she was married at the time, but she's like legitimately scared. And this wasn't like she doesn't do the thing where hey, look at me, I'm having a problem, give me likes thing.
Right. That
isn't her. And I'm like, okay. I mean, yeah. So yeah, as a straight white guy, I'm looking at it through one perspective that I'm sure other people, they don't have that perspective. So, I need to check myself. The Department of Education being defunded is interesting. That's me after soccer guy. No, sorry, I can only dream. Damn it. All right, I don't know what any of this means. Either way, the guy that apparently sat in theology class with me in 1992 is gone into hiding, which is, of course, the brand.
Yeah, unsurprising.
Yeah, and God, I'd love to be able to go through my class, see if Mr. Wayner still has it. Mr. Wayner being perhaps my favorite person ever. You've met him.
Oh yeah, one of the best sound
Dick
stories
Wayner.
ever.
Oh my God. And say, hey, would you be able to pull the information from what 25 people were in your 1992 theology class with me?
What period did you have that? Can you remember that?
I think it was in the mornings.
Nice.
I think it was in the mornings.
Yeah, I always have my most boring classes in the mornings.
Oh, what are you trying to say about theology?
Not
That's what
good.
it sounds like.
No.
That's what I took it as.
We didn't have any theology. We had microeconomics, which is some people's theology, and boy, was that boring at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that'd be tough. Brad is making the observation that Bevo Bill is still watching, but he's just gone silent. See, that's what I'm saying. It's just. But now I'm giving him what he wants by reacting to it. But this is, and you know what? I wonder if you're a viewer, if it comes off as creepy as it does to me, who's received this kind of stuff over the number of years.
I don't think it could.
Yes, you're probably like, why is this a big fucking deal?
I think it looks pretty innocuous to some folks.
That's what I'm saying. So I have to check myself again. It's
right.
he didn't really say anything.
Yeah, I think it's a little.
I'm like, trust me, there's a situation here. And,
I picked up a reed as soon as I saw the side of the head. The bald head thing, the dent in the head. I was like, oh boy, that's the first breadcrumb to fall.
Yeah, but that's that. I mean, I've been hearing about that forever,
right.
And it's accurate. I got no problem with it. I mean, I can't fucking do anything about it. Whatever.
But there's a way people say it.
The fact that he was in my class in high school, hates me, and is following me around at 48. Well, I'm actually young for my class, 49 or 50 years old. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can you imagine somebody that you went to high school with and you're doing this, God help you, in 23 years, and they're hating on you in the chat? You see what I'm saying? You see how fucked up that is?
Yeah. There's certainly some characters that would make me nervous in that department. Yeah. It's tough. Usually,
the Unabomber wasn't a dumb guy. You know what I mean?
No, he's not.
So it doesn't that's why I'm saying the 101 stuff's like you said, you're gay.
Yeah.
It's
They call me Jerkson. Wow.
What was the one the other day? Martin loves reading them in the commercial break. He loves it because he loves going back through the text history. He goes, these people are just angry throughout the day. Yeah. And they are. It's the strangest fucking thing. But it's it's just anger at anybody. It's
and
not it's not the parasocial thing. The parasocial thing is the freaky thing.
The parasocial element of it is what is the most scary. That is the most.
Yes. Because
the person who's a subject, the person who's on media just does something where a lot of people know them, but they don't know a lot of people. It's you. That's the whole element of it. It's so much about me and Tim. And there's a good chance that we don't know anything about you. That's not saying we're better than you by any means, but that's a freaky thing when you mention to me something that this is my first interaction talking with you, and you know something about me that I've never told you personally. And it's a little odd. It's a little off-putting. And so you turn that up with some more psychotic elements, and it gets really fucking creepy really fucking fast.
Yeah.
Really fast.
MD 2020 says the people angry in the 101 YouTube and every morning or in the morning are angry in the YouTube for every other 101 program. That's from MD 2020.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, and it's such a different thing. Mm-hmm. One of the emails I received over the last week or two is well, you always said they're angry at you guys, so why are you going there? I said, well, that was kind of it was they're not going to, what I say, they're not going to be happy with us, Jackson. Is that what I used to say?
Oh, yeah, well, we'd say it at the end of every
right.
TMA. Boy, they're not
But I mean,
be
internally, Tommy would be like, you guys have the highest rated show on the station. And he'd be like, yeah, I don't know. God bless, I doff my cap.
Yeah.
but I wouldn't go on 101. You're listening to the highest rated show on 101. You know,
it's like,
just like, okay. But yes, that was kind of more of a self-deprecating thing. I'm just trying to get the Arnold Water Tower to be green again. KG and I need more for the human chain. That's from Ryan D.
There's going to be a human chain in front of the water tower.
It's going to be hot.
In Arnold.
All right, Jackson, how long do we go with this?
About 2 hours and change.
Holy shit!
2 hours and change. 2:50.
Wow. I got 14 text messages missed.
Hmm.
What you got going on here? Ooh, a bunch of different places, too.
Anything tantalizing?
Let's see. Chairman Kurt on the update thing. I'm in a group chat with the Colonel and my guys from the Missouri Journalism School.
Yeah.
I don't think you know any of that. Oh, Brian Nooner, who was the sports director, there was in there.
Talking Gates?
I don't know. They're talking about, what is this, like a Heisman Trophy? Is there like finalists for the Heisman? Oh, Davey O'Brien Award semifinalists. Drew Aller, Bryson Daly, who's at Army, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Blake Horvath, who's at Navy, Will Howard, Kevin Jennings is at SMU, Kate Klubnik, Clemson, John Mateer is at Washington. I never heard of him.
Not much Washington talk this year.
And one of the guys who works at the Golf Channel now said no Drew Pine. So the boys are just getting it going.
Did I not hear Cam Ward's name in there?
Cam Ward's name was not in there, now that you mention that.
That is shocking. Or Shedeur Sanders.
Or maybe it's like a screenshot of the tweet. Yeah, Cam Ward's in there. Cam Ward's in there.
Is Shedeur Sanders
John Mateer's Washington State. Jalen Milroe, Shedeur Sanders, and Diego Pavia. I mean, everybody's in there.
Yeah, that's basically
Jake Retzlaff at BYU, Curtis Rourke, Indiana, Shedeur Sanders, Colorado, Cam Ward, Miami.
Top 25 quarterbacks.
Yeah. Let's see. Would you guys ever consider having a daily or weekly caller trivia segment competition? I mean, I'm open. I'm open to it. I don't know. I can tell Jackson isn't. Is that weird that I could just look, and then get the answer without even?
I can see there could be some comedic. It wouldn't be like how you would think, like the person who's asking. Like, I don't think it would be how you would think it would be. It would be more like Doug crapping on the questions, Doug crapping on the people getting the answers wrong. Like, there actually could be some funny Martin crapping on it.
Right.
There could be some funny elements to it, but I do have some leftover questions. I got some.
I would enjoy your trivia questions.
Yeah, I can just. We can do a round tomorrow.
All right, let's shut it down. Bevo, whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah.
So how can you tell that he's still watching?
I can't. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, Brad could.
Well, I think he was just. He said still watching A with a question mark.
Oh, I thought he could tell that he's still watching.
No. Unfortunately, they don't tell us who exactly is watching.
You have the admin control panel.
I'm looking. I'm on YouTube Studio, Tim, and what a scene it is.
You can at them if they are still there.
Oh. I didn't know that. Boy, people know more about YouTube Live than I do, and I've kind of been running one for about 3 years.
So Brad is saying Bevo Bill is still present. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I really want to... I just don't remember who was in my theology class, as amazing as that is. So I can't go, I already know. I'll know. Once, if I were to ever get the class, like, oh, yeah, that's the one. And then I'll determine whether or not we got a situation.
Who's your most famous classmate that you went to U-High with?
At St. Louis U-High?
Yeah.
God, there's some motherfuckers who've made some money.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of guys, not from my era, who are in the NFL now. I don't know. I'll type it. I mean, the Gunn family, but they were all over the place when I was there.
Yeah. Well, isn't James like your age or
might have been a year ahead of me.
Yeah. Yeah. That shit. I forgot about James Gunn.
James Gunn probably, but I think James Gunn is like
50.
I think
51.
I don't know if we were there at the same time. Yeah, I thought he was pretty.
His younger brother Sean.
He's 10 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
I thought so.
Oh, okay.
Sean Gunn, I think. Sean Gunn was the one I remember seeing in the hallways.
Okay.
I remember seeing Sean Gunn. And so he was on Gilmore Girls.
And he was with his brothers.
And all the Avengers.
Yeah,
and
Guardians of the Galaxy,
yeah.
which his brother directed.
So yeah,
to much acclaim.
And I remember him acting in the theater classes. I remember seeing him.
Yeah, Sean Gunn's good. And James is obviously
So the whole Gunn
good call.
family. Right. So there you go. At the University of Missouri, journalism school. I mean, great people. We used to just me, her, and Gabe actually would because we were like the only people from the state of Missouri in the journalism school class. And I don't even know how many people would know her, but she's been anchoring. I don't know if she still is anchoring Entertainment Tonight. Nichelle Turner. She would do some Fox sideline stuff. Like in recent years, after me, you might, because I'd be curious what you would say. Most famous University of Missouri journalism grad, like going 2010 and on.
2010 and on. Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know.
So there isn't one?
I can't think, like, I'm trying to think, like, if someone like jumps out at me as like, oh yeah, they're massive. Like, I can't think of anybody. I'm sure there's like a lot of really.
It kind of speaks to the fucking industry. Yeah, Nichelle pops up when you. But I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm not.
Alumni. I'm looking it up. Alumni.
No, I got John Anderson, who was at ESPN, but he's older than me by 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I am not listed in radio or television.
You are not.
Nor are you, which is bullshit.
Yeah, I was about to say, if I'm listed, they're going to go scrubbing that out. It's like when Martin had Kornfeld on this morning and asked, like, Martin's in the CBC Hall of Fame, Doug's in the Kirkwood Hall. There's no chance I will ever be. It's called the Backer Award at St. Louis U High. Maybe Bevo Bill knows something about that. Fucking creep.
Can George C. Scott be my answer?
George C. Scott was a journalism student?
Yep.
Brad Pitt was a journalism student, but I'm looking for somebody more recent. Russ Mitchell did CBS Evening News in the early show.
Yeah, but this George C. Scott, he really still resonates with the people.
Does. He was
Patton.
Ebenezer Scrooge and Patton.
Boy, Patton.
Wright Thompson, the voice of every commercial break return during the Masters.
Oh, okay. That's
Matt
a good one.
Weiner, friend of the program. God, what does it say that there isn't like anybody like under the age of like 50 in this?
What was that George C. Scott movie about porn? What was that one called?
Clip that off. Jeez.
I watched it.
Oh boy, this says a lot
ago.
about the industry. Holy shit. I would have thought there'd be somebody like who left there in the last 15 years who, you know.
Yeah. What was that porn movie he did?
Look at Tim being humble when it's clearly him. Thank you, MD20. I was waiting for somebody to say it. As Jackson watched The Penguin. At dinner I was at, where I broke the readers out, some people were saying, oh yeah, you got to watch The Penguin.
Yeah, I really do. I'll watch it before. I'll watch it. Yeah. It's Colin Farrell. It's in the Batman universe, but I hear it's just a mob show. So he's a character in the most recent 2022 version of the Batman, directed by Matt Reeves. And this is like a show that's a continuation off that, and it's supposed to be like a bridge between the next Batman movie, but I don't think it's very Batman. It like takes place in Gotham. That's, I think, the most Batman thing about it.
Somebody was saying it's like Sopranos, and I'm like, oh, if that's the case, then yeah, but I mean, is it mobs with like superhero guys?
No, so that's what people are saying, is that the most Batman thing about it is it takes place in Gotham, and the character is the Penguin, but it's like he's not like Danny DeVito's Penguin.
Got it.
It's Colin Farrell and a ton of makeup. Hardcore, that's the movie. Hardcore.
That's with George C. Scott?
George C. Scott, where his daughter is like runs off to California and is in like these porn movies. It's fucked up.
Well, they're coming after Bevo Bill in the. Thank you. I appreciate that. I usually don't advocate for like the gang up on social media thing. Yeah, I don't.
He's doing it to Zach Bryan in a major way right now.
God, I gotta tell you, has Zach Bryan said anything, or has he gone dark? I honestly don't know.
I think he's gone dark.
I don't know what I'm something emotionally. Emotionally isn't the right word, but like enamored. I think with like the coverage Dave Portnoy gets. It's so great, and like, oh, God bless him. But I'm like, this guy, you know. And am I correct on that? You tell me.
Okay.
Brianna Chicken Fry.
Mm-hmm.
She is not alleging that he was physically abusive. Am I correct?
Emotionally.
Emotionally abusive.
Correct.
All right. And so because of that, am I missing anything else?
There is allegations in their first diss track that he was knowingly giving out STDs.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a different piece of information. All right. See, I was not aware of that. Well, that's a different
Knowingly
deal.
or just giving out STDs. Yeah.
Got it. Giving out STDs. So he's sleeping with women, and he's currently got they don't specify
in the rap song. That's when I was like, because like the thing about the emotion, like the once I heard that, I was like, ooh, you guys are making that's like you're saying something.
Yeah, you're getting into an area where you could get into defamation, but it's almost like that's what they want.
Right.
Chairman Kurt says Zach Bryan has not really resurfaced. If you want to, Dave Matthews, if you want to stalk someone, I have always wanted a stalker. Quit creeping on Tim and slide into my DMs. It's Dave Matthews trying to engage with Bevo.
Don't ask too much. You might get it.
No, I don't think you'll get it, Dave. This guy's going to be in hiding. But he might emerge when I'm at my house. You know, that's the nice thing about it.
Yeah.
We've had it happen before.
You said it all.
You've said it all, yeah. Hey, isn't this your wife in your front yard? Yes. Wow.
God, it makes my stomach turn.
Yeah.
Makes my stomach turn.
That was a highlight. Yeah.
It makes my stomach turn.
There was a guy who claimed that I didn't like that he was a fan of Donald Trump, and I had a video of him, and I didn't want him to speak on behalf of that. This really happened. I would imagine it's believable because it would be pretty hell of a concoction. So I'm going back 8 years here on the 2016 election. So I wasn't happy that he was a fan of Donald Trump. And so I was blackmailing him with a video that I had obtained of him having gay sex with somebody.
That's just unbelievable.
And when I'm sitting across from the Kirkwood police on this, I'm like, he goes, well, we deal with, and we looked him up and we see what he's got going on. And I'm like, well, that's good. At least I don't have to necessarily like say that this isn't true. I'll take a lie detector or whatever else. You know, well, we deal with things like this every once in a while, and, you know, you have this job and this, you know, occasionally can run into people that, you know, want to be close to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a
spot.
MD 2020 says offered her $12 million to sign an NDA allegedly.
That is what they are also claiming, is that she was offered $12 million.
So is he done? I mean, is that? I don't know. I mean, I'm asking. Yes, is he done because of this situation?
No.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if he is now.
No.
Okay.
I think people have shown that they can really withstand.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm thinking of Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, and R. Kelly, and it's like, if Michael Jackson song comes on and I want to listen to it, I'm not going, oh, well, I saw that Netflix series.
People,
or R. Kelly.
Or
you know,
Kevin
I don't
Spacey.
go.
Like, yeah, people still, you know, it's, yeah. You can withstand.
Right, okay. But, like, what I'm trying to understand, like, I'm trying to understand, like, what did he do?
Right, emotional abuse.
But what is emotional abuse? Like, what does that mean?
So, like, some of the stories that he has shared, he is not. She has shared is like how he would tell her that she was dressed like kind of like a slut and you look ridiculous. And
this wasn't like a role-playing thing. Like, hey, lady, let me buy you a drink. You look like a Hua.
No, I don't think.
You look like a Puerto Rican Hua.
No, I don't think this was
Frank Vincent.
The work
Sopranos.
I don't think it was Frank Vincent or
you know what scene I'm talking about? Sopranos.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
With Vito's son.
Vito Jr. You look like a Puerto Rican hooer.
God, that's one of my. It came out of nowhere.
He's eating an ice cream sundae the size of his head. No, it wasn't about that or anything like that. Or
Chairman Kurt says she wasn't allowed to listen to Morgan Whalen.
Yeah, she was like whistling a tune of his, and he freaked out. But she like dressed up for the Golden Globes. It was dressed up beautifully, but he was calling her a hooer and saying like, I don't want to be with someone who dresses like that. And then later that night,
but didn't he break up with her? And wasn't that the whole issue? And then she was really upset that he broke up with her?
He cheated. That's what they're also claiming.
Are you in awe that I'm totally oblivious to this?
Yeah, because I kind of tried to check out of this, and I kind of just kept scrolling.
You're talking to somebody who doesn't know the first thing about it.
Explaining it, which is, life comes at you fast. But they're alleging that he cheated on her, and that she dressed up for this Golden Globes thing, and he was telling her, hooer, and then you dress like a slut, and I can't be with someone like that. But then post on Instagram, like an Instagram story of her in a dress, look at my beautiful girlfriend, essentially, super manipulative shit like that.
Okay, all right, I follow.
Very manipulative,
that.
saying that like tried to like buy her all this stuff to like get her to quit Barstool, even though she kept telling him that she loved Barstool and like she loves her job. Apparently he wrote the song Pink Skies after Grace, who is Brianna Chicken Fry's co-host on her podcast. Her grandma died. Brianna wanted Zach to come to the funeral. Apparently, he screamed at her. Hey,
Brianna wanted Zach to come to Grace's grandma's funeral.
Okay. Sorry.
That's fine.
There's a lot there.
I need one of Chairman Kurt's like graphs that he built out today.
Apparently, like that, she like really wanted him to come because, Grace is her best friend, and this meant a lot to her for him to be there. And he was like bitching about being there and hated it and screamed at her about it. And then later that night wrote Pink Skies, which is obviously based around a funeral.
Got it.
And so, like, essentially, like, leveraging that. And so there's a mutual...
Well, did he say that he wrote the song about?
No.
Well, then I don't understand on that one. I don't understand what the crime is.
I don't think there's any crime.
I realize there's no crimes. But, like, what the...
Well, just, like, that he was, like, bitching about how, like, I have to go to this woman's... I didn't even know this woman. Why am I going to her funeral? Like, why am I doing this? And she's like, well, it means a lot to me to be there. And then he went and turned and wrote a massive song after bitching about all this. I think that's a cheap shot. Now I'm hearing your version of it. I haven't heard her say that. I got to tell you, as somebody who's been divorced, and I know that's going to resonate with some people here, one of the things, and you're going to experience this, you will never get divorced. I'd be shocked. Let me put it that way. And I'm just saying that just as kind of like a ball is a ball, a strike is a strike. There's certainly people, and I think there's certain people who have traits. I have the traits to get divorced. As somebody who's been divorced, that you learn. There was a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where we've chosen Cheryl. Remember that happens, but then people decide what the truth and because people gossip about why'd they get divorced, and then I heard, and there's always, and so then I always talk about, I'm like, we actually would sit in the kitchen and we bought this house, but it was 2008 and it crashed in value and we didn't have any money, and so we decided, we'll still live together, even though we were sleeping in different bedrooms. No, that's not true. Tim was fucking everybody in town. And I'm just like, okay. I just, it doesn't matter. Sure.
You kind of get, it's like, and again, I mean, at this point, that's 16, 17 years ago. But what I have learned is, and it's because I experienced it. I only learned it because I experienced it firsthand, that until you hear the other side of the story, especially when you're talking about a relationship. So in that sense, in that specific sense, I am always sympathetic to the person who hasn't said anything. Now, that might be a mistake, but...
you explain your perspective.
But that is the reason why I have that perspective, to be clear.
Yeah.
I have no idea why anybody would, take their private relationship,
air it out,
especially when I do recall when that happened, that she said she wanted privacy. But it's also, I'm sure it's a generation thing, and I understand that, and I guess there's probably some cash in and whatever other term, you don't know, even if she did turn down a $12 million NDA, that you can have the whatever response, I suppose, and the support.
Yeah, I actively tried to check out of this whole controversy.
So this is like this continues on here.
Oh yeah, the battle rages on.
But he's not saying anything. So what's the battle over?
Oh, there's more diss tracks to come, and there's more podcasts to record. I tried to actively check out of this because I check in and check out to social media trends or discussions or narratives. I tried to check out of this one, and I mistakenly watched the entire diss track, and I was like, oh well, I guess I'm checked in now.
So what's the I mean, you're talking about this diss track like I know what's going on.
Well, Dave and Josh Richards, who does one of the podcasts with Dave Portnoy, did a 6-minute long diss track.
Okay.
Dissing Mr. Zach Bryan, saying he cheated.
So we're doing like a K-Dot and Drake situation.
Yeah, just yes.
You were about to say something and you decided not to. Why?
I've never really shared my opinion on the K-Dot thing.
Oh wow! Breaking news.
Not Like Us is a banger. There's no doubt about it. But I don't like how you can just call somebody a pedophile and it's like, oh, okay, everything's cool. Like, that's like, okay. Like, I don't know.
That's a spot.
I think that's like really
It's a spot I always would say on, and I've never been called that, but hey,
Sure.
you know what? Maybe Bevo Bill will be back. That when you get into that, like I remember, like before TMA had gotten to, not to say that TMA is some monster thing now, but I mean, I guess locally it is. All relative, I mean, you're talking Barstool is like the sun and TMA is like Pluto, barely considered a planet. And I recognize that. That I always thought that if somebody, and I have had people say things that are just factually inaccurate, and then you go, okay, I could litigate that, but it's like, the fuck cares?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But when you're coming up, so to speak, and you're younger, and you got like, oh, I would fucking sue somebody if they said that. But then like the bullshit you have to go through to like sue. So yeah, if I don't know who was being called the pedophile.
Drake was being called.
Drake was being called the pedophile
by Kendrick.
Okay. I'm sure he is now. Of course, I suppose we got to allocate a percentage of okay, maybe it's accurate.
Right.
So then, if it's not, in order for it to be defamatory, for it to be slanderous by definition, it would have to be false, and Kendrick Lamar would have to be knowingly saying something about him with malicious intent in order for him to win. But God Almighty, the burden of proof. Like if somebody does, like somebody who's a celebrity, a real celebrity, not my stupid shit, in Hollywood or an athlete or whatever, sues, they know, because I assure you their counsel has told them, you now will be asked all kinds of things that will be out there, and that will be that's your cost. And yeah, you have all the money in the world, so you can sue them into oblivion and make their life a living hell. But your cost isn't necessarily just your legal fees. It's that number one, you have to prove malicious intent, and number two, now your testimony, you will be deposed.
Yeah, and
now you got to go through that, and people go, that's not fucking worth it.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's different, like, or some sort of something about it being in a song for entertainment value, for this, that, or the other. I don't think that would get him out of it. I don't know. I mean, here I am. I'm learning about Zach Bryan and Drake on this podcast at the tail end. And just to wrap up my Drake and K-Dot beef thoughts 6 months later, I thought the third verse of Not Like Us was by and large the best of any of the beef.
For the record, I was scrolling through TikTok, as you know I'm one to do, because I send you sound all day long that you then get blamed for, which is great.
It is lovely.
And they showed like one of those corporate retreats where they had like, executives older than me dancing on the stage for their like sycophant employees to Not Like Us.
Oh, God. Yeah, I saw Donald Trump say, like, I listened to it all throughout, and I was like, I love this, because Kendrick Lamar has a line in the song Yeah, where he says, Fox News trying to use my name as percentage. Like, Fox News trying to use my name for percentage. I was like, it's literally playing out in real life, Donald Trump being like, I played Not Like Us. I was like,
that's the 2024 version of Born in the USA in the Reagan campaign.
Right.
And going, hey, I know the titles and the melody sounds uplifting, but...
Yeah.
Ty Menendez. I've talked about this twice, but I guess since we've been on for like
People
7 hours now, they cycle on.
By the way, is Joe calling in?
Oh, yeah. Producer Joe, where the fuck you at?
We're an hour and 12 minutes after.
I forgot how excited I am about that podcast. That was like 2 hours ago that we talked about it. Love y'all. Why was trivia canceled? No problem. Happy to answer. Only 85 people had bought tickets. The last 2 years, we had sold more than 200. You will probably see things on the TMA fan page and the TMA Reddit. I don't know where else this stuff goes on.
Just general back channels. Are people still on 4chan?
There's a TMA 4chan?
I don't know. I don't know
thought people said Tigerboard was 4chan.
Maybe like some kink or fetish websites we get talked about.
That's hot.
Yeah.
Saying it's proof that the show is failing miserably. And we had 21 live reads this morning, which is a new record for 20 years of the show. But the trivia. So anyway, what I would tell you is this, Ty Menendez, because I know you're asking this question in good faith, is in an ideal world, I mean, these events are determined time-wise months in advance. Like I was talking to Jesse today, as a matter of fact, about the Dotem. I mean, which would be in, 7 months?
Yep. But
you got to book these golf courses. So anyway, we booked the trivia night thing, who knows when, because St. Gabriel has to book the gym and so on and so forth. And I said, yeah, we probably ought to do it on a Friday in case Missouri's relevant. Who knows what they'll be like by the time that South Carolina game rolls around. So Friday night, I think, factored. But I think the biggest factor is we didn't really promote it because everything with TMA going to 101. And happened at the time. TMA Trivia Night was always purchased in the final couple weeks, and obviously it's been, what has it been now? I don't know. What do we got? God, it's been 18 days since that announcement. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Jesus. So yeah, we really haven't promoted it, and you try to manage a situation as best as you can, and then you look back on it and you go, the things that I can control.
Right.
And I think if I would have said, hey, we probably should bail on the trivia night thing. Like I could have said this weeks ago, because if we're going to 101, I know all hell's going to break loose with the TMA audience, with the 101 audience, to promote an event that isn't like sold out like the Dotem, and you got to buy tickets. It's not going to do well. I don't know if the Friday thing factored in, but I just knew I just kind of, it didn't matter what we were doing at this time. We're just not promoting. Like, you probably haven't heard me talk much about the TMA merch. It's not a coincidence. I think the first time we talked about Chairman Kurt's new quarter zips was today.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to talk about that stuff because I kind of know it's kind of over now for the most part, but still. It's like when I talked last week on the TMA State of the Union. I've been around long enough to know that you can't win on certain things, and you just kind of accept it, and that's why there's no point in going and posting shit on social media, or like if I would have done a podcast like the TMA State of the Union on the night or on the day of the announcement. Imagine that versus when I did it 2 weeks, I guess 13 days to be exact, after the announcement. I know you see it because you're sitting here with me, but for audience members listening to this, you see the difference. It's just one of those things that, you know, people calm down, and they also have 2 weeks of shows to listen to and go, okay, I get it. And hey, the thing that you're concerned about is something that we're not happy about, but guess what? That's management here isn't happy about, and that's why the clock is changing. Broadcast calendar, Jackson.
Broadcast calendar.
November 25th. Let's see. There's a TMA meeting at the Downtown Library every night at 6 p.m. They talk about the show nonstop.
Right in
maybe
rush
we gotta
hour.
go.
Right in rush hour.
Maybe we gotta go. So, you remember Melissa Marmar Banks?
I don't think I ever worked with her, but I've heard the name.
Okay. Oh, you never worked with her?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, December 2020.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she worked with me for more than a decade. And there was a restaurant in downtown, and at the time, I think the Inside STL, for those of you who are on both, the TMA fan page, the Inside STL message board, and the TMA Reddit.
The lifers.
Show fucking sucks, but I've been listening for 20 years.
Yeah. I've been on all of those platforms.
I haven't seen the Reddit page, so I have no idea.
It's glorious.
I have been on the TMA fan page, and I definitely dealt with the Inside STL message board. I'll rank the bantiness of them.
Right. I can't speak
I know you can't. That's what I'm saying. I'm asking people, and I don't know if there's anybody
got it.
But anyway, this was during the Inside STL message board era. And we had the office, it was at 19th and Locust above Edmund's restaurant. And she went to a restaurant downtown, and she came back and she goes, I am so weirded out by what just happened. And I go, oh, fuck, is everything all right? Like, I'm thinking like, you know, like who knows? I don't know.
Who knows? She's
sitting in my office, and she goes, so I'm sitting there and I'm having lunch, and there's like 4 guys, and they're a little older than me. And I think she's like, I don't know, 7 years younger than me, something, I don't know. I think she's right around the same age as my wife. And she goes, and they didn't know, you know, where I work and that I work with you. And they were guys from the Inside STL message board, and they were all talking about how much they hated you.
Nice.
And that was their whole lunch. And she goes, it was so weird to like actually see it. And they didn't realize how strange it was. And it was like being at the zoo, but they didn't realize. And I go, yeah. And I go, and here's what's going to be even stranger for you. I'm not surprised. I don't know what to tell you. And this is like, you know, this is TMA grew in popularity, you know, after that time period.
Yeah.
I mean, it was popular, but it got more popular recently.
Right.
You know, then it kind of did that.
You were wearing Jinko jeans when she told you all this.
I don't know what that means.
The Jinko jean? Wasn't that a big thing in like the mid-aughts? Like the really wide jeans?
No, this was probably more like maybe like 2011 or 12.
Oh, so you're wearing like the shuttered shades.
I was absolutely wearing shades.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a star.
Right.
God, I'm sitting here with readers on. Chairman Kurt has given his rankings. The worst one, Reddit. The message board, second worst. Fan page, third worst. I haven't, as I said, I haven't seen the Reddit. I would guess that that's probably, based on what I hear tell, fan page is more kind of passive aggressive.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that message board was something else.
Anytime you can be anonymous, you really can't be anonymous on Facebook. You can be a nesting buddy, but you can't really be like totally anonymous. Like there's somebody's name attached to your shit. But on Reddit, and I assume the message board, you could just be, you know, Dingleberry33 and say whatever you want.
But we knew who they were, and I think that was the thing that they didn't know.
Oh, like you saw the profile, how it was set up?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, which was kind of like,
message board.
Right.
Reddit, you can't.
Yeah,
so maybe
we had
that
all the
is
back
what,
end, and then IP addresses. So it's like, yeah, you know, and then you'd come up at an event and like be all friendly, and I'd be like, oh yeah. I mean, I guess we're going to act like I don't know what you write. And hey, you're welcome to write it. It's just like it's weird that you're like, you know, I think if I pulled it out, you might service me. But then you're on this board all day with like, it was like only like 30 or 40 people who were actively posting. But they really thought that the whole, and so when I said, you know, we might get rid of the message board because it was on this software called V-Bulletin, and it didn't match up with whatever the site was built on, the new, and then at one point, and then I said, you know, we don't make any money off of it, and they just couldn't believe that. And I'm just like,
well, why messages would create dollars?
I guess the traffic, I don't know.
It's got to be monetized.
And so
somehow.
we moved into, this must have been like 2015, 2016. Brendan Marks took over, B. Marks took over for Justin Boyd. And I don't know, it was like a month into this new site. And I go, hey, I got an email, somebody saying that they can't find the message board. Can you? And he goes, oh, I got rid of that 2 months ago. And I go, what? And he goes, yeah, the software didn't mess up. And he goes, yeah, it's just gone. And I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, you like put a bullet in its head. I didn't even know you did.
Yeah.
And the first I'm hearing about it is from one, because the way that these people usually work is they like to bitch in their little bubbles, but they don't contact me. So like I got an email from, remember Micah Sage?
Yes.
Okay, he was on the program.
Yeah, he was.
We had him interview me, for lack of a better term. And he sent me an email about the clock. And he said, I'm sure you've gotten like 100,000 emails about the clock. And I go, I got to be honest with you, Micah. You are the first one to email me asking about the clock and when it's going to change. And yet I'm willing to get on the phone with people, you know, much less respond to an email. But I don't think people necessarily want answers. They want to bitch. Yeah. And if you email me, you can't bitch. I mean, you can. You're welcome to.
But no one's going to hear it except you.
Right. But then you don't get your jerk-off buddies to
get to put your elbow in the round.
Right. And that's the thing. So it's just one of those things. So that's why when I say I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck about that stuff. I can't control it. So, like, why worry about it? But if somebody takes the time to email me, even if they're motherfucking me, especially if they put their name on it, it's got all the credibility in the world. It absolutely does. The thing is that there are answers to the questions. And so when I just respond with the answers, and I'm not like, fuck, I'm sorry, man, I had no idea we were going to have these blues interviews and these commercial breaks. I fucked this thing up. I don't know what to say. I should have stayed on HD2 in perpetuity. What the fuck? And I go, yeah, I had a choice. I could take it in-house or I could go on 101. And I knew we'd have the breaks, but, you know, this is what me, Doug, and Jackson decided was best for the show. And to Hubbard's credit, they're going to change the clock to give us 3 segments instead of 4. That's the truth, and it also doesn't necessarily get met with the same. It's like when my wife and I are arguing, and she's really worked up, and I'm talking calmly. I understand that's got to be fucking tilting to deal with. Yeah. You know, because you want that emotion reciprocated, and I don't do it consciously. I think maybe it's subconsciously because my dad used to yell at me quite a bit. All of us. That's what we grew up with. You know, and so I think my overcorrection has been to like being like, you know, fucking psychotically monotone. You know, rarely am I going to yell because I think I'm like I don't like thinking of that subconsciously from my childhood. That was not fun. You know, and so. My response is to go, well, here is the reason. You know, we've joked about the, what's her name on Billions Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that it's kind of like, well, here's the reason, and this is why, and here's, and that doesn't necessarily, when people are emotional, that isn't, well, it freaks them out, or it makes them think you don't care if you're not like screaming back.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Totally. Which is why I sit there and I go, maybe I should get on social media.
Although uniform-wise, a lot of potential.
If you get that uniform thing going, that's how I'll come out of retirement.
I'm thinking about doing it.
Let's see what else we got. V Bulletin and Tappa Talk. The good old days. That's from Brad. Tuna is terrible? Charlie Tuna taking a shot?
Maybe just the fish.
What is...
I'm not a big seafood guy.
Boy, that's surprising to me.
Not a seafood guy.
You have
I kind of
sushi?
like shellfish.
You have sushi?
American sushi. Like it's covered in sauce and rice and shit. Yeah, I'm good with that. If it's like sashimi, no thanks.
I would have a tough time believing that if me and you went to Las Vegas for the weekend, just the two of us, one room.
That would be like, then I would understand people on Reddit being like, what the fuck?
Is that what they say on Reddit? That there's the thread is what the fuck?
No, but...
They think I'm gay?
No. Although if you and I just went to Vegas together, they might.
If we went to Kabuto, I get an email once a month from somebody, I'm going to Las Vegas. What's the name of that place? I just can't. I mean, hey, maybe it's just something you just don't like, you know? And if that's the case, then it's like, but if you are, you know, because there's shit that under no circumstances, I don't care what restaurant we're at, I'm not going to eat it, you know? So I don't.
What is that food for you? I'm curious.
Oh, God.
You don't like Parmesan cheese?
I don't like Parmesan. Yeah, I don't like Parmesan cheese. That's accurate. I've never really drank milk.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think if I did, I'd be 6'4".
That's what stopped you?
I really do think that.
Calcium deficit?
That's what I'm operating, calcium deficit. The thing about it is, like, I'll go to restaurants. My wife will know. Yeah. She'll go, why was the guy today? I mean, I know I'm trying to get inside in the head of the insane, but the guy, me talking about having a wife was a humble brag. What was that? Remember that one?
Yeah, that was a passerby. The wandering soul in the night. I can't even try to psychoanalyze those guys.
Like, I think it's a humble brag to say you're married. I got to be honest with you. I think it might be a humble brag to say you're single and fucking like 2 at a time. Yeah. Be honest with you.
That's just a difference of perspective.
Yeah. I don't know, but whatever. Either way, it's great. I love all the listeners.
It's great.
Whatever. Yes. What was I talking about?
Foods you don't like.
Oh yeah, my wife will go, yeah, this probably isn't a restaurant you're gonna like, because she kind of know, like, what gets called frou-frou. Is that offensive? I don't know if that's offensive.
Frou-frou, I don't even know what that means.
Like, kind of like
tapas, small plates.
No, it's kind of like we're really gonna.
Oh, like we're really leaning into the creative elements of it.
Yes, that's it. I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy.
If there's like a chutney,
let's have Tim over and have some meat and potatoes.
Like if there's a chutney of some sort or some sort of reduction.
That's correct.
So you wouldn't like the food in the Bear, like the Bear restaurant.
I get it, but you know.
Seems like
I just you know, I'm simple. I mean, I would imagine that's pretty fucking clear, but maybe it's not. I don't know.
Right. But you like sushi. I wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah, but I don't think sushi's necessarily like on the culinary edge. I mean, if we're in St. Louis, right? In St. Louis, I haven't necessarily. There have been Sato and Indo. I've enjoyed those, but
or just landlocked. I feel like that's a tough part of it.
Yeah, but now everything can be shipped so effectively.
Yeah, that's true. Vegas gets in there.
Oh my God, it's just it's. But I mean, if you don't like it, then there's like my dad. There's not a chance. I've always wanted to take my dad to Las Vegas, and I'd want to take him to this place, and he'd just be like, Timmy, I just don't like that shit. And then I'd go, have you ever had it? But see, if somebody would say that to me, I'd be like, fuck off. I don't like it. So then if I said, you haven't had it,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all my parents. I mean, growing up, like not liking seafood, whenever we go on family vacations, we go to these fish restaurants because we'd always be by the water. And it was like, Jackson's not going to order fish. And it was everyone's fucking joke that I wasn't going to eat it.
You just don't like it. I
just don't like it. It's just the smell.
So everybody's got their things.
And
hey, God bless. To each their own. So that's the thing. I know I got my things.
Yeah.
But I got some weird, as I always say, I got some weird shit going on. But I'm trying to think of the other foods.
It's not like Producer Joe, we don't eat green food.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
No
it's just like, I don't like something, so I just don't order it. But if I go to a restaurant, I'm like, oh shit. I'm hungry. And it's like, here's a tiny little plate, and it's going to be like $90 for the per entree, and we got to jerk ourselves off and go saying how great it is. When, God, let me go through the drive-thru at Culver's, if you don't mind, and I will be the happiest motherfucker going.
Yeah, that's like a mood dependent. Like if you're like, I think if you're super hungry at a restaurant, like
but I mean, like Louis, for example.
Sure.
Have you been?
No, I've only heard great
So
things.
I mean, that's a place that on the surface, like, oh God, I probably wouldn't like anything, and then looking at the menu, I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't. And then I go there, and it's simply, I think it's called oven roasted chicken.
I heard it's the best thing.
And I've had other oven roasted chicken at all these places, and then it comes out, and somehow it's the greatest damn thing ever. And I'm just in awe of the whole thing. Yeah. But it's also a monster size of chicken, too.
Right. They're not skimping you.
No. Yeah. That Matt McGuire at Louis and Wright's Tavern, he don't play.
Is he UI?
He is UI. Of course he's UI.
Whoever's
signing the checks, they're UI. You don't need to ask.
I don't even know why I did.
Yeah. And this guy who's stalking me in the fucking YouTube chat who has gone completely dark. At least people who've been watching this have gotten to see it play out.
Yeah, he's too busy signing checks.
Let's see. All right, we got an active Chairman Kurt's talking about playing college football. Are you still playing that college football game on, are you?
Yeah.
That gets me to my 7-year-old wants to get a video game system.
Here it goes.
Well, I got to tell you something here. But then I feel like I'm like throwing my wife, humble brag. I'm married. I sleep on a couch in the basement. I got it all. But she's really she's anti-smoking, she's anti-pornography, and she's anti-video games.
Yeah. You can get around with 2 of the 3.
But yet we'll be sitting there having conversations with Lisa Ann on the boat while you're in the diaper, and Caden and Ariana Marie, and it's like but she's like, as far as I'm like, hey, how about we watch this Ella Reese and Miguel Matt, absolutely, and she just goes, it's not even live,
right?
So I understand that, it's fine, but the video games thing, I've been like, hey, there's some things these boys are going to want or do that I just got to let you know you're not going to be on board with.
Right.
And I'm completely on board with him, but I know we got to represent a unified front. I can't be good cop and bad copping on this. Yeah. I can't be the good guy. And if I'm up on something, you got to be with me on it. And privately say, hey, I totally disagree with that. To me, that's the way you handle it. Fuck, what do I know? But she is down on the video games thing, and so we're driving along. My 7-year-old, he goes, and I knew he had an angle, this little motherfucker. And he goes, Dad, what did you do outside of sports when you were a kid?
Well done.
And I'm like, and I knew right away, I'm like, okay, he's on a flush draw or something, or maybe he has a set, I don't know. Maybe that deuce, he's got a set, I don't know.
You, of course, responded with Bible study.
Oh, no, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be quite a conversation whenever that ship comes in. Yeah. But, I go, I don't know. I said, I had a bunch, and it is a tough spot for him, because I had a bunch of, guys, and we lived in the city, and we were in blocks and alleys, and everybody was close, and we had the park. I mean, we were lucky in that sense. We're riding bikes all over the place. But I'm like, I think he's angling for something, and I'm trying to figure out where it is. And I was immediately on the video game thing, but I'm like, he's 7. Are the 7-year-olds playing video games?
Sure they are.
Yeah. And then eventually, sure enough, within a minute, I got the read I needed. I knew where we were.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, so-and-so has Fortnite. My friends have Fortnite.
That's the problem. When one domino falls.
That's it. Which is kind of probably be the phone thing.
Yeah, that's the deal. That was my version of that.
Okay.
Games, everyone just kind of had them. But phone.
So to me, the video game thing is so benign. But then I had, I don't want to give a name because he was talking to me about his kids. But he texted me about, he goes, dude, you think the video game thing is a nothing? He goes, I'm telling you, it's so addictive because they're so good that it's dangerous.
They're so good.
And he goes, it's a dangerous thing. So your wife is actually right on this one. Because I'm like, if I got him, what is it, a PS4 or 5 or whatever the fuck these things are? Okay. I'm like, well, then I probably would get the college football game. And then I can't even imagine. Anytime, every once in a while, if the weather's shitty, I'll be like, fuck it, I'll
Fire poker tournament?
Yes, exactly right. And my wife will come downstairs and see I'm playing poker. She goes, Boy, that's when you know it's really bad. Is when you're playing poker. Not because she's like, oh, you're gonna, because she knows I did well doing it, but that I'm so bored that I'm like, fuck, I'll just go ahead and probably light my money on fire up against bots from.
I'm sure you're at your peak attractiveness when you're sitting on the couch
with my readers on,
laptop on lap.
No, I got 2 laptops going. I got the one for the poker, and I got the one for whatever Ella Reese is up to.
You're just kind of lounging in a chair.
Yeah. It's a Sunday afternoon. We're fucking stuck here. It's terrible weather. Yeah. And I'm playing like in a $30 tournament.
Against some Scandinavian
guys. Against bots. You know, and I even, it's so... And I'm like, why am I even doing this? And then the structure on Bovada is so shitty that eventually it just becomes what we call a shove fest in poker, where you're not deep stacked enough that there's any strategy, and you're just like, pocket tens, why not? No, pocket jacks. So that was a good 8 hours, Just the fucking worst.
8 hours.
Oh, it's brutal. Oh, I'd have 14-hour online tournaments.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about that shit that I used to do in Las Vegas. Because we were thinking about going there in December. I got a bunch of vacation time left. And I'm like, for whatever reason, it costs so much money to get there right now. Really? And it's going in there in December. And I'm just like, I said, what are we going to do? You'll hang out at the spa. I guess I'll go play poker. I don't really want to.
Yeah.
So why even fuck with it? But anyway, going back on the Fortnite thing, I'm like, God, this is starting up at 7.
Sounds about right.
Is that right? Really?
Yeah.
I'd get the college football game, and I'd probably be pretty happy.
Yeah, it's outstanding.
I know.
I probably got a GameCube when I was like 8 or 9. But in fairness, that's what developed one of my biggest loves of sports was NBA Live 06 with Dwayne Wade on the cover. I didn't know anything about any NBA team or any NBA player, and after playing that game for 3 months, I could tell you everything about every team.
See, that's the thing I kind of liked about it, and I know that sounds like Doug will talk about that with like hockey. He gets in these fantasy hockey leagues, and it helps him with the knowledge on hockey.
So I learned everything about every NBA player.
Anyway. Holy shit, I just took a call for a half hour. This is still going? Yes.
Yeah.
And I tried to land the plane. I could tell Jackson, God, it's 3:35. Holy shit.
At this point, it's like, just go deeper, like if you're going to we're going to
get get together with Keith to buy advertising for Sound Story.
You thought.
And he's probably like, what are we doing here? I told him I'd be done in 20 minutes at 1:20.
Yeah, that was, didn't we start at like 1:20?
I was playing my dad's old Nintendo Entertainment System around 7, 8 years old. I'm trying to think. We got a Nintendo when I was 10.
Duck Hunt,
Gyromite, Hogan's Alley.
Yeah, that's good shit too. But that's the thing is every year that you were a kid, the video games were as good as they ever were. It's only getting better. So yes, they are very addicting now, but they were addicting then. Addicting 10 years ago.
Yeah, and
they're really good.
Oh my God.
They're really good.
I would love it.
They're really
But I mean, there isn't a part of me that goes like, well, you still play poker. I go, there's just not any parent who did play poker who didn't have kids when they started playing poker. It's like, it's not even in play because in order to win in a tournament, it takes forever. Yeah. Like a real tournament, not one where it's like a turbo and any asshole can win. Right. Any asshole can win any tournament. But over time, skill is going to, send the cream to the crop. But yeah, I don't have any interest in doing that. So I can't imagine like, oh shit, now I'm like, I can't wait to take Missouri to Tuscaloosa tonight. Sorry, I got to go downstairs.
You say that now.
Oh, I know.
Here's my rule. I don't play video games when the sun is out. That's my only rule. Okay. I do not play when the sun is out. And once the sun goes down,
it's on.
Then I'll play. But there's something I just can't. I feel too bad about myself playing. Now, rainy day Saturday like it was, I played some video games during the day on Saturday.
I get that.
But that's a weekend and it's nasty out.
You don't have a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old.
No, I do not, Tim.
That's the deal. Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I was playing poker up until we had kids.
Yeah, it's a totally different guy.
But I mean, I look back on that, and we lived in Grace Lofts, top floor. Oh, it was the tits. Above Flannery's, when downtown had a couple of years of glory. And I'd start up a poker tournament at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then to be like, hey, I'm still in it, and it's 10 o'clock. I know we were planning on going out, but, first place is $25,000, and there's 10 motherfuckers left, and I'm one of them.
Trip to Vegas on the...
Oh, we got to go.
Yeah,
we got to do this. So, but the idea of doing that now, there's not a part of me. Like, if my wife were to go out of town with her parents and take the boys, maybe I would. But even then, I'm like, the tournaments are so shit.
Yeah.
Why don't we have sports gambling when we can't have poker? I guess probably because it's federal, because state by state they have poker.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the rule is. I don't know what the reasoning on that is.
Am I getting to be too tall? I can't imagine I'm asking that question. This
No,
is like a Rogan podcast.
okay.
Yeah, I got to go. This is mainly for Jackson. Plus, I got to go buy advertising for Sound Story. I'm sure there's some threads about Trivia Night being canceled with conspiracy theories. I got a great hole. And
how's it taste?
You can get a taste if you like.
Nice.
That's up to you.
Nice.
I don't want to tell anybody to taste it.
Right, you don't
I'm just saying I have a hole and you can taste it.
Tastes like fish.
And it's all.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this new show, it is failing. It's an absolute disaster, and the Trivia Night being canceled is proof positive of it.
Right. But again, a hole.
But I have a hole. And I want you, maybe that could be the title.
I was like, God, I hope he says something at the end that's the title. Otherwise, I'm calling it like video games and shitty poker tournaments.
Bad structure.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go. I got to piss. It finally got to me. You've probably had to piss like 2 hours ago. What's going on with your prostate, bro?
I don't know. I might be making a big comeback in the prostate department because honestly, I think maybe peeing more because on TMA there'd be times where I would have to pee and we'd be in
this golf swing.
88 minute. Thank you. Yeah, lock in. Minute 88 of a TMA segment 1, and I was like, I just conditioned my prostate to not pee after that long. But now that I have the opportunity to pee more with more breaks, I think I'm getting more regular.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It is weird. We go running because we have 4 breaks an hour for now. And we'll go run into the bathroom, and Doug will be like, I didn't have to pee this much before. So
right, because we conditioned ourselves.
Right. But the breaks are so short that I'm going to ask you every break. And it sucks, but you got to look at it. You don't just know.
Well, you have to add it, because it's 30 seconds plus 15.
But I've been late for 2 breaks.
Yep.
And I've been getting here, as you've probably observed, like 20 minutes before the show starts, now that we're on 101.
Yeah.
And today, because for the first time since we started on 101, my 2-year-old, who I'd been leaving early enough that he couldn't come down to... And I love it. I mean, he comes running down and hugs me. It's the greatest fucking thing. I'm telling you, you put a MFF out there and my son running up to me and hugging me. And maybe 20 years ago, it's MFF all day. But I mean, for real, it's the greatest fucking thing. Because I know it's not going to last. The 7-year-old couldn't care any less anymore. It's already happening. And any parent already knows this program. I'm just experiencing it. And he comes downstairs and we're hanging out. And I'm like, oh shit, it's 6:40. And this isn't. This is basically 6:47 on the old clock.
Right.
What if I'm late on 101?
Yeah.
Now, in the whole scheme of things, it didn't really matter. But I don't want to,
Sure.
Because I'd walk in at 7:05 somehow every day for TMA on HD2.
I want to tell a quick anecdote.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jackson Burkett telling an anecdote in hour 4 of QFTA.
That's right. I want to tell a quick anecdote. When I first came to shoot video of TMA in 2014, when I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow, I was a 37-year-old man.
And I was doing a video project about TMA. I remember emailing with Tim and about coming in, and we had talked, and he agreed, and it was really cool, and I was really looking forward to it. I got there, set all my cameras up and everything. Charlie Morrow was there, Kat was out, so Doug and Charlie Morrow were there. And I was sitting there, and I looked at my phone, and it was like 7:05, and I was like, well, I thought Tim was going to be in today, but, this is kind of... And then right as I thought that, in walks Tim with his same bag that he carries now. Yeah. And this is like, all right, let's get this fucking go out.
I didn't say that. It just they would just start it.
I was like,
the way that works.
I was like... And then as soon as he sat down and opened his laptop, the show started, I was like, did they plan that or something?
So, I mean, I know I've said this probably double-digit times, but for real, I had that meeting 5 hours ago now with Riz for Stupiracy, and he goes, God, I'm so tired. I go, what, 3 a.m. wake-up call? He goes, 2:15. And I go, oh, fuck.
God, that's brutal.
Oh. And that makes me do that when I hear that.
Yeah.
Now, he's going on an hour before us.
Sure.
But
we're not waking up an hour later.
Absolutely not. Yeah, we're not getting up at 3:15. But when I tell him what we used to do, and still kind of do for TMA, that I just walk in and we go, he would go, oh.
Yeah, right.
He goes, that gives me the chills to think about that.
Right.
And that's just, And today was the first TMA on 101. How many have we done now? I guess 12? Mm-hmm. Where I'm like, okay, we don't have any sports. I'm driving out here. I'm like, I'm going to just trust the force. Yeah. I know the talent's there.
Sure.
We got the break thing that we just got to deal with. But we have one guest. That's it. That's the blues guest at 8:15. That's the way things are. But we're just, and there wasn't really anything sports-wise to talk about. This is going to be what people who don't like sports talk are going to like, and the 101 listeners aren't going to like it. And yet still we kind of fucked around with sports.
Yeah.
But we just didn't do it and we're not going to do it that way. It's just not what we do.
No.
I just don't, there's this, I think that the narrative is Tim sold out so he could be on 101 and now he's going to do a sports show. And it's like, I got to be honest with you. If we want to do that, like, do I need to submit my tax returns? There isn't really like a monster bump in compensation.
Should Tim go get back on social media or put his tax returns out for public consumption?
Boy, if you didn't like me in 2016. So yeah, I'm like, I just, for the life, I feel like that's the one that I've gotten hit with the most when people are emailing, like, kind of critically, like, you always said you were never going to do a show like that, and now you're doing a 101 show. And I'm going, it's funny you say that, because everybody who's in a 101 audience thinks we're not doing a sports show.
I know. That's what's kind of freeing about it all. It was like,
that's how I feel when I'm talking politics. If I am talking policy, which I don't think I did today, that people would say, oh, you're such a liberal, or God, you're conservative. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm not saying that means you're right per se. I'm not saying that's how you know you're right. But like the TMA listeners, and I know most of the people who listen to this are TMA listeners, like the longtime TMA listeners. You don't realize how much in the text inboxes, aren't you guys going to talk sports? Why don't you talk sports? The show never talks sports. I fucking hate this. How come you don't talk sports? And the TMA listeners are going, all you guys do is talk sports now, and all these Blues interviews and all that. And it's like, listen, trust me, when it's all said and done, but you just got to. But hey, there's going to be a dynamic, no matter what, that is missing if Iggy's not there. That's a dynamic that changes, which is why I was like, Iggy in the corner, sitting where Chairman Kurt is, with Martin there, and Chairman Kurt in the studio across, like he was when we were in this closet. That was my. There's my roster with, let's do 2 breaks an hour. Let's go.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, and then I'd be like, all right, we got. But I mean, can't have everything you want.
Right.
So you got a choice. You take it in-house, go to 101. All right, Jackson. That's it. I'm going to piss. I'm going to piss on your tits is what I'm going to do.
Yes.
That's the title of today's podcast.
I'm going to piss on your tit.
MD 2020 says the last thing I want to hear about is potential cardinal moves every day for the next 4 months. The sports talk in St. Louis this time of year can be a little tough. I don't know. I mean, listen, if Missouri would have beaten one of Alabama or A&M, trust me, I'd still be coming in there rock hard. Or if Illinois would have beat Oregon or Penn State, I'd be locked in because I love college football. But yeah, when people, like when the 101 people go into talk sports, I'm like, I mean, we kind of are, and what do you want to hear us talk about?
Yeah, right.
Right. And then when the TMA people are like, my God, you're doing a 101 show, and I'm like, that's interesting, because the 101 people are saying this show's fucking terrible, we don't talk sports, and it's just like, we're doing like a hybrid of TMA and Balloon Party, but on days where there's not sports, it's going to be more TMA than Balloon Party.
Yep.
And on days when there's a lot going on sports-wise, it's not even going to be Balloon Party because we're going to be able to get guests like Bill DeWitt, like Josh Schertz. I love that the show, like Rich Gould just walking in today, I love that this, I can kind of, and that's what Martin was talking about before this all started up. It wouldn't be fair to, he's just like, there's an opportunity. That's what, and that's, I'm like, yeah, there's an opportunity, So anyway,
I thought we didn't talk nearly enough about Mizzou, Eastern Washington this morning. But
you were kind of,
that's my personal gripe.
You were kind of wanting to get into that a little bit more, and I feel like that was a miss on our part.
Yeah.
All right, for Jackson Better. How long did we go? Did we go 3?
Oh yeah, we blew past 3.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're 3 and change.
Holy shit! And I don't even know what the fuck we talked about. We talked about the election.
Yeah, we talked about a little bit about the trivia night being canceled and the whole situation.
Talked about that 3 different times, but the listeners cycle on, they cycle off.
The creep.
Oh yeah, that's going to put me in a bad headspace.
Zach Bryan, we got somehow into the Zach Bryan, Dave Portnoy. I don't know, and it's called Tim Has a Hole. Taste it?
No. I got to figure out what the name of it is. I'm gonna go piss. I'm gonna have a cathartic moment when this brine flows through me.
Peyote piss, like
oh my God! And I got to go buy this advertising too with the director of sales who's been texting me, and I haven't looked at the text, and he's probably like, "Dude, what the fuck?" Yeah. And how about this from St. Louis University? They wanted to see when Coach can come back in between the 10th and the 12th.
Oh, nice. 10th and the 12th of December.
That's right.
Yeah, we should be available. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I know we don't have shit going on, so.
Yeah, 10th and the 12th.
I loved that Josh Schertz
It was
interview.
a lot of fun. Really.
I loved that. I find myself pulling for St. Louis University in a major way now because of that. I mean, I always was like, I hope they win, but now I'm like,
It personalizes.
yeah.
Totally. It was a great move.
Bill DeWitt and Josh Schertz have both won fans over
Yes.
by doing those interviews.
Yes.
And that's not because of us. It's because it humanizes them, as you just said. You said it before I did. That's exactly right. All right, got to go. It's got to happen. For Jackson Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. It's been the Tim McKernan Show. Bye.